What is up, everyone? We are back. Week 12 fantasy football reactions, dynasty trades, waiver wire stuff. We're going to break down everything that we saw in the week 12 slate of action. Lots of stuff flying around there. Lots of takes in the Twitter land, I noticed. We did have more injuries this week than we did have last week. I think last week we pretty much skated by with nothing realistically, other than like the Raiders running backs getting hurt last week. There was nothing really that was relevant, but we did have a couple things that we probably should start to touch on right away here. Josh Downs had already came out saying that the shoulder injury that he suffered is expected to be week to week, and he's probably going to miss at least week 13 with that injury. I'm sure we will talk about Adonai Mitchell later on in this video. But yeah, that's kind of a big loss for the Colts, who were already not playing well in that game. Richardson, you look at the box score, you could paint a picture. You look at the game environment, you could paint a picture.
Real quick on that though, by the way, too, like people are going to look at the completion percentage. There was a lot of plays. Specifically, there was one at like the 12-yard line. His tight end missed a wide open touchdown catch. So it's like there's context to his stat lines, but also
I'm sick of context with Anthony Richardson. I'm really sick of it because he's the only quarterback that gets the entire echo chamber of the football world.
Dak throws one pass, and we're talking about it for 4 weeks.
Pass that he has, whereas Bryce Young been doing this for all season, and nobody defends Bryce Young's drops and stuff, and he's actually playing much better than Anthony Richardson right now.
Almost beat the fucking Chiefs yesterday.
He did. He did beat the Chiefs as far as what he could do. He tied the game up.
Yeah,
all he had to hope was that his defense would get a stop.
Yeah, I mean, 21 for 35. We do see like he's throwing to his receiving core right now is David Moore, Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette. Jalen Coker didn't even play in this game.
And Sanders left the game early.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, we could talk about that injury next. When I saw that happen, I was just scared to death that was going to be a broken neck. The way he landed on his head.
Yeah, it looked as bad as you can possibly think it would look.
Yes.
From a neck injury. Dr. Morris commented on it. He basically said it was just like a scary looking injury. The hope is that it's just a neck sprain. Dave Canales sounded pretty optimistic that it wasn't super, super bad, but I would imagine he could miss, a couple of games here, maybe out for the season if it's anything. If it's a neck sprain, it's actually just like a week-to-week injury, not a super concerning injury. But hopefully JT Sanders is all right, because that was a game in which he was actually kind of breaking out. If you were watching the game, like he had a number of good catches in that game, and Bryce Young, what he needs in this offense, what Carolina needs in this offense is Xavier Legette to start playing well, Bryce Young to start playing well, Jatavian Sanders to start playing well. Once Jalen Coker's back out there, get your young players developing.
I'm sorry, but Devin Tompkins had receiving yards for that team yesterday?
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that the same Devin Tompkins that got hype on New England like 8 years ago, or am I tripping?
I don't remember if it's the same player. I actually watched a vast majority
of that game.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I watched a vast majority of that game because I had a lot of, Chiefs players and a couple Carolina players in a lot of spots. So I was pretty tuned into that game. And it is, I've said this now a couple games in a row, it feels like. I think that was the best game I've seen Bryce Young play as a pro.
Yeah, no doubt for sure. By the way, it is a different, I'm talking like 2015 fantasy. There was a guy, Tompkins for New England.
I know who you're talking about. I just don't think it's the same player.
I don't think it is, but I'm trying to think. Tompkins, New England. It's going to bother me. An organized Kembrell Tompkins. I wonder if there's any relation.
Yeah. Anyways, other injuries that we got to talk about. Speaking of the Kembrell Tompkins. Yeah. Speaking of the Colts, Pittman also was in and out of the lineup, but he did end up returning. So hopefully he's probably all right. Brock Purdy didn't play at all this week because he had what Dr. Morris called a minor labrum tear. But if it's a serious labrum tear, he's going to get shut down for the year. So there's a lot of things to sort out there in San Francisco.
So there was actually context to this, and it's funny because I sent this in the Discord, and I'm like, Mason, you better be prepared to potentially be without Brock Purdy. And they were all like shushing it away. It's like, oh, Grant's your source, like Grant Cohn, what does he know? But like he was saying on the field, like, yeah, Purdy got pulled early, and like they were doing like extensive work on his shoulder. And like people just brush it off because of the source, and then it ends up coming out a day later. Like, yeah, he's gonna be out for this game with a shoulder injury. So I don't trust the freaking San Francisco 49ers with anything that comes to injuries. That's where I boiled it down to.
Yeah, no, there was a couple other quarterback injuries too. Gardner Minshew suffered what looked like a
Yeah,
like he
he's
broke
out.
his clavicle or something. Like it was a bad injury, and he's going
Yeah.
to be done for the year. Aiden O'Connell, I believe, is eligible to come off IR this week against the Chiefs on Black Friday. It's possible that he's back. Otherwise, we're going to have to watch
Ritter.
some absolute like wash our eyes out type of football Thursday and Friday, because we're going to get what Cooper Rush and Tommy DeVito Thanksgiving afternoon. And then on Friday, Black Friday game, we might have Desmond Ritter and Patrick versus Patrick Mahomes. And Mahomes, somehow the Chiefs will find a way to only win that game by a field goal, because it seems like that's how they win every single game. But yeah, hopefully we don't have to subject our eyeballs to Desmond Ritter on an island game.
Hey, by the way, Bush, if you want to trade for your Bucks defense now with how good it looked, let me know.
I wanted to trade for them before, but there's actually no point in me trading for anything right now, because I'm just kind of gearing up for the toilet bowl at this point.
Yeah.
After
I mean,
Sal
like,
has a generational week against me.
I mean, like, to be fair though, the Bucks defense may very well keep you from having to do the punishment. So
it might, but like, I don't know. What am I going to give you?
I don't know. I'll throw it on
receiver 3 for it.
No, I'll like it'll be like a 2-for-1. I'll throw the defense on top of something and like get a little upgrade somewhere.
Okay,
like,
well, feel free to send some offers there, because I would like to just have fun and watch my defense potentially for the rest of the year.
For sure.
Other injuries to talk about: both Commanders running backs went down. Brian Robinson looked like he suffered a pretty severe
looked bad at first,
high ankle sprain, or maybe even a knee injury at the time. The injury video was kind of unclear exactly what it was.
Got rolled up on,
saying that it was an ankle injury towards the halftime portion, I think, of that game. He didn't return. He tried to come back, and then he was able, like, he had to leave the game again. So swelling and, you know, what we know kind of takes place with ankle injuries. I wouldn't be shocked if he missed a couple games with this.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. We actually saw that happen with Joe Mixon. If you remember, like, Joe Mixon suffered the ankle injury, came back into the game, and then he missed 3 weeks. So we'll see what ends up happening. At the time when he did have the injury, like, it looked bad. It looked like he got rolled up on. Like, I thought it was going to be a high ankle sprain. So we'll see what they end up diagnosing, but didn't look promising. And then Eckler, like, a really scary concussion at the end of the game, straight up. Like, there was everybody kneeling around him. Everybody was like really supportive. Like, as soon as you see, like, don't get me wrong, like, players will have concussions and obviously other players will support them. But when you see like everybody on a knee, helmet off, like around a guy that's getting stretchered and shit, like, it's not great.
No, it didn't look good. And Eckler too, the backup to Brian Robinson, got basically slept. It was bad.
That's what I'm saying. Bad concussion.
Yeah, bad concussion. Like, that was the situation there. So Jeremy McNichols, I guess, is the guy that we're going to be turning to potentially.
Could be a top 5 pickup this week.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. He's probably the best running back pickup, assuming Amir Abdullah is, you know, maybe already rostered in a lot of people's leagues. So those were some major injuries. There was a couple other that I'll rattle off. 2 concussions also that we need to talk about. Cedric Tillman suffered one on Thursday night. He has a little bit of extra time to clear the protocol, so it's possible he doesn't miss any time, but just keep an eye on that one. Romeo Doubs absolutely will be out for week 13.
Oh, dude, that was a horrible one.
He also plays on Thursday night, so he doesn't have enough time to clear the protocol, even if he is generally Wicks. Okay. So Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson and Jaden Reed obviously going to see an upgrade there, and Tucker Kraft as well, who found the end zone. Other injuries to talk about. I mean, David Montgomery suffered a shoulder injury. It's a short week for Thanksgiving, but I don't think it was all that serious. He's probably going to play through it. Baker Mayfield had a stinger, played through it. Obviously just an absolute nails game from Baker. Love to see that. Tommy DeVito got fucking destroyed by Kalijah Kancey on one play, and he got hurt for a couple of plays in return. Drew Lock did come in, but they have already come out and said basically that Tommy DeVito is going to continue starting. Sam Darnold, I think it was an ankle injury that he suffered, but he returned and played through it as well. And then, like I said already, Michael Pittman looks like he was being evaluated for like a shoulder injury, and he ended up coming back. So going to be a couple injuries that we actually have to monitor here, and it's going to factor into the waiver wire. Romeo Doubs and Josh Downs injuries specifically, and the Commanders running back specifically, are going to factor into like what the waiver wire looks like in week 13.
Yeah, for sure. But moving on to the takeaways, I mean, what is your number one overall like takeaway you got to get out of the way right now? Like, what is one thing that sticks with you? Because there's a couple that come to mind, and I want to see if you pick one of them for me.
Yeah. So the first one to me is more of a dynasty takeaway than a redraft takeaway, but I said it on the trade targets by position video that I thought some of the better buy low quarterbacks, given the price tag, were Bryce Young and Will Levis, and Bryce Young and Will Levis both, in my opinion, have earned the chance to potentially start another season for their respective franchises. Now, from the Panthers perspective, you have a lot higher draft capital. So I would definitely handicap that it's more likely Bryce is back than Levis, considering he was a second round pick and so on and so forth. They're also both going to be picking very highly in the draft. So it's possible that they fall in love with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or whatever handful of quarterbacks we actually get that are lauded as first round prospects. It's possible that they do their work on them and, maybe decide, hey, we want to stick with Bryce Young and take a Tet McMillan or take a Mason Graham or take an offensive tackle or whatever we want to do.
Especially in this class. I mean,
yeah, like there's better options, I think, at other positions. So it makes you like, yeah, Bryce is showing us something. And it's going to be an ongoing process, because I can say this now in week 12, but if Bryce Young looks terrible for the next 4 games, then they're probably going to draft a quarterback. So it needs to be an ongoing growth process for both of these guys. But I feel a lot better about them right now than I did in week 6.
Well, think of it like this too. I mean, we talked about this when we were talking about this 2025 rookie draft. When there are 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks that are going to go round 1 at this point, because Jalen Milroe, I think, is going to go back to school, or even if he does commit, I don't think he's going to be a first-round pick based off what he's shown as a passer as of the last few weeks. The only 2 that really stand out as, they are going to go first round are Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. There's only 2 teams in the top 10 that can take those quarterbacks. If you are Carolina, if you're Tennessee, you just need to find one reason not to have to draft a quarterback this year. And then you could focus to, like you said, the Mason Grahams, the Tet McMillans, the Travis Hunters, the Will Campbells. Like, there's a lot of like non-quarterback top-end talent this year. But I'm concerned to see which team is the one that actually does pull the trigger on the quarterback, because I really do think, like I said, that it's going to be a situation. Teams are going to look for any reason not to have to draft one. Especially looking like 2026, 2027 on, that's probably when you're going to want to target your quarterback anyways, because Sanders and Ward, respectively, are not strong quarterback 1 and 2 candidates to begin with.
No, and not to mention, too, like if you look at the teams in the top 10 that could take a quarterback, you have the Giants at 2, you have the Raiders at 3, you have the Panthers and Titans at 5 and 6, respectively. You have the Jets at 7, you have the Browns at 8, and you have the Saints at 9. If I had to rank them as far as how desperate they are to get quarterbacks, like the Giants, the Raiders, and the Browns for sure are more desperate to get quarterback than Carolina.
I think the Jets are up there too. Apparently Rodgers doesn't want to play there.
The Jets, definitely, you could make the argument, are up there. You also, again, have the Saints, who maybe would stick with Derek Carr for another year. I think when you're looking at the landscape of the free agent market too, like it's not like there's like a Kirk Cousins available. It's like Sam Darnold is probably your best available quarterback.
Back to the
Justin
Jets.
Fields, maybe up there as well. Like there's not a guy that you look at, Daniel Jones also too, that you think there's tons of great QBs available in free agency and via trade too. Like I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that might want to be traded away from their current franchise as well.
Like I'm trying to think maybe this is the question I do have. Let's just say hypothetically this year the Falcons win 7 or 8 games. I don't think Kirk Cousins' contract is tradable, but also if you win 7 or 8 games and you miss the playoffs in the NFC South, what is the point of rostering him going into the next year knowing you have Penix in the wing? That is the one caveat again. I don't know how Cousins would
financially. I think there would be some challenges, but I do think Cousins potentially could be available. I don't think that Pete. I don't think the Falcons would ever consider trading Penix. They wouldn't have drafted him if they were going to trade him. I think it's way more likely that they would find a way to trade Cousins if it means like taking on some of his dead cap or whatever the case is. But I still think if Cousins plays well enough to like push them to the playoffs, even if they miss the playoffs hypothetically, and the Bucks, take over that division or whatever. Because right now they're both close in terms of their records. Right now, the Bucks are 5 and 6, the Falcons are 6 and 5, and the Falcons have a more difficult schedule remaining versus Tampa. Tampa's is like literally the easiest in the league rest of season, other than I think Jacksonville's is easier. But other than Jacksonville, I think it's the easiest. And then the Falcons,
Carolina twice, and the Cowboys in that stretch.
Yeah, and like Atlanta still has to play. Who do they play coming up? They play the Chargers this coming week. They play the Vikings the week after that. The Raiders, and Giants and Commander. Raiders and Giants are not easy, are easy opponents. But then you also have the Commanders again in week 17. So
sounds like a 2 and 3 stretch.
Yeah, like you could go 2 and 3 during that stretch, whereas the Bucks are probably going to go like 4 and 1. The Chargers, they have to play as well, and they're a good team. But the way the Tampa played against the Giants, they continue to play like that. They're going to beat a lot of teams.
Yeah. hopefully we see a fired up Giants team come in on Thursday and take back what you guys did to them. They're embarrassed. They can't believe that they got blown out by you guys, so they take their wrath on my Cowboys when we try to further our tank after fucking winning a pointless game.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could talk about our own teams here. I for one, absolutely love to watch my defense just beat up on a absolutely inferior opponent, because
I know how that feels like.
From the Buccaneers defense all year. They should have done it a couple times, and they finally did it this time. So I felt good to watch that.
That is the one thing I enjoyed about the Dan Quinn tenure. When we had a cupcake on the schedule, Buddy was fucking letting them know.
Yeah, no, you just blasted them. Mike Zimmer is just, you guys need to fire literally everybody. Like, everybody needs to be fired. Zimmer, McCarthy, everybody should go. If you guys go into this season with anybody currently remaining on your coaching staff, you guys are throwing heavily.
I don't disagree, but what's hilarious about that game is, dude, Washington had 9 points with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
I bet on the under in that game. I was like, oh, this is the lock of the century. It's like 3-3 at halftime.
Wasn't it? Am I tripping? Was it 20-9 or was it 10-9 with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter? And then they just scored all the points at the end of the game.
No, it was 10-9 at the start of the fourth quarter.
Got you. Okay. Yeah.
It was at the end of the third that it was 10-9.
Like, I'm trying to think. That's
regardless, kind of mentally ill that's what we saw from the rest of that game. Cause I was like, oh yeah, the under is a complete lock at this point in time. But last thing I also want to just mention about the Buccaneers too is we did finally see Bucky Irving, I believe for the first time this season, outsnap a healthy Rachaad White.
That was going to be my takeaway. I was going to bring that up. How high is too high for Bucky Irving rest of the season, knowing that he's also getting receiving work now?
Yeah, I mean, so Tucker didn't play. Like, people thought Tucker was going to play a lot more. He did steal the goal line carry from Bucky Irving, but he only played 8% of the snaps, which is generally in line with what he's played the rest of the season. I think at the very least, like, I don't remember how I had them ranked going into the week, but I think it was like I had Rachaad White at like 19 and I had Bucky Irving at like 21 or something like that coming into the week. And I think at the very least, you bump up Bucky a few octaves to the point that weekly he's going to be a top 15 to 18 play. And then Rachaad White is still going to be probably a low-end RB2, given the fact that even despite this game, he lost some of his routes, he lost some of his targets. He still was able to find the end zone and finish RB16 on the week. And I still think more often than not, he's going to be closer to the 45 to 55% route participation than he was this week with 34% of the routes. But who knows? Maybe this is the post-bye rookie bump we're getting from Bucky Irving. And as a Bucs fan, I can tell you right now, he is absolutely the better running back in all facets. The only thing that Rachaad White does better is pass protection.
So I currently have him RB17 rest of the season is where I ended up with Bucky. And I mean, it's funny you said 15 to 18 because that's literally where he ended up getting to me. So I have him at 17 and I have Rachaad White at 26 right now, only like just behind Brian Robinson and Isaiah Pacheco. That's how
I think you can make the argument that what really is the difference between Tyrone Tracy and Bucky Irving
They're back to back for me rest of the season.
And I would prefer Irving given the schedule that you have in the better offense. So even though, you're probably getting 10% more snap share and, volume from Tyrone Tracy, you'd rather have the high value volume from Bucky Irving. And I think
for the record, those guys are 16 and 17 for me. They come directly in front of Montgomery and J.K. Dobbins.
You have Montgomery too low, bro. He's my RB12 rest of the season.
Really? To be fair, so wait, you have him over like Kamara and Walker?
I have him over Kamara, yeah, and Taylor.
That's spicy.
I have him over Jonathan Taylor and Alvin Kamara. Can you please tell me any reason why I shouldn't?
No, I mean straight up, I think the RB2s kind of blended together because, like, I mean, I can't even make the case. What's the big difference between Bucky Irving and Jonathan Taylor this season? One's getting a workload, one's better.
Workload, I guess. Jonathan Taylor has a better workload.
The offense has looked unwatchable at times. Like I don't know. I'm concerned. I mean, I got to put Kamara over.
I said it about JT going into the week. I'm like, we might need really clinging on to the 2022 season or 2021 season a little too much.
How many times have I said that, bro?
You've said it a lot, and I'm starting to change my tune on it a little bit.
There we go. So, again, and of course, if you guys are on the site, all of our rest of season rankings we're going to be tinkering with today. So we're just having these conversations out loud so you guys can kind of know our thought process on this stuff. But yeah, like once you get to RB13, which is where I have Kamara, and even honestly, Kamara might be above this group, but like Taylor, James Cook, a little volatile.
I have Jacobs and Montgomery over Kamara. So
I have Jacobs over him. I don't have Montgomery.
Yeah.
Don't have Montgomery.
Here's the thing with Montgomery, because you can.
I do have to raise him. I think you're right.
You can logically say David Montgomery.
He has to be over James Cook.
Yeah, who's like a 45% snap share guy,
Yeah.
David Montgomery. You can logically say there's no way he should be ahead of a guy who gets a 60 to 70% workload every single week on some offenses that are pretty good, like the Packers offense. So Kamara gets a lot of receiving work, so it makes up for it. James Cook obviously still on a really good offense. But the reality is, every single week, the Lions are implied for 30 points. And David Montgomery is minus 200 on every sports book to score a touchdown. Like
let me ask you this
craziest
one
stat you'll hear in a while is that Gibbs and Montgomery both have 10 rushing touchdowns already each.
Yeah. No, Montgomery has 11 and Gibbs has 10. Yeah. That's
like, how insane is that? It's literally not even Thanksgiving.
They average 2 a game. I mean, I was going to bring this up. How high is too high to rank Jahmyr Gibbs rest of the season? He had 24 opportunities. He saw his snap share go back to 67% after 42% against Jacksonville. He hasn't been that involved as a receiver, but with how efficient he is as a runner and how many touchdowns he's scoring, look, I talked about the schedule with you too. I talked about the schedule with the trade targets video as well. Detroit, one of the easiest rush schedules moving forward. Is he like RB3 rest of the season?
I have him 4. I still have Bijan, Achane, and Barkley ahead of him, but I did move him ahead of McCaffrey.
I think that's how I'm going to approach it too, because I'm getting a little, I just traded for McCaffrey in my home. I'm getting a little worried. The efficiency just hasn't been there since he's come back. And maybe that was expected. And I talked about it. Okay, maybe we don't see the same McCaffrey when he comes back. And I said that was a possibility. But what's happened to San Francisco? This is not the same Dynasty
next year when it comes to how do we value Christian McCaffrey? Because if he finishes the season looking like this, I fear that my inner running back hater is going to come out and I'm going to find reasons not to like McCaffrey, and maybe he has a bounce back season, or vice versa. I fear that I'm not going to factor in my running back hatred enough, and I'm just going to be like, I don't care, it's Christian McCaffrey, and he's going to end up stinking again next year.
So you know what's going to happen? He's going to get the Barkley treatment this offseason. He's going to fall down to a second-round pick.
Oh, I'll take him there, but I don't imagine that to be very likely, to be honest.
But let me ask you this. Profiling into next year, let's just say there's 12 picks in the first round of fantasy drafts. How many running backs and wide receivers are going to go ahead of McCaffrey? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if Brees has a great end of the year based off the schedule, based off the overall explosive nature he has,
they would have to. I don't think Brees would go ahead of him for most public drafters unless the Jets had a significant upgrade at quarterback going into 2025.
Perhaps, but in terms of the schedule, in terms of the younger running back, I think at the very minimum, that would be a conversation. We already know Bijan's going ahead of him. We already know Barkley, Achane, Gibbs are going to be going above McCaffrey. That's a non-negotiable. Then we go to wide receivers. Chase, Collins, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, AJ. Who is he going above of a wide receiver in that group?
Yeah, no, there's so off the top of my head right now, I would take Barkley ahead of him at running back. I would take Achane ahead of him. I would take Bijan ahead of him. I would take Gibbs ahead of him. I would probably take Kyron ahead of him too.
I wouldn't take Kyron. I think Kyron, Kyron's been bad this year from an efficiency perspective. I think there's not a guarantee he holds on to this type of work moving forward.
I don't know, dude. Until we've
been saying this, but now it's become a legit issue. He's just not playing well at all. And Blake Corum has been mixed in a little bit.
I'm not gonna. I don't really give a shit about Corum at this point in time.
I just think more so not for the end of this
maybe
year,
it's
but more
an
so going into
ETN
next
Bigsby
year.
Situation in year 2.
That's what I'm saying.
But until I hear more of that, I'm probably not going to really buy into it. I think Kyron has a chance to close out the season really strong too, because he has a really good schedule for the run. So
he could, but I don't know. Who goes higher, Henry or McCaffrey in public drafts?
I would definitely take McCaffrey higher, but I can't imagine people in PPR leagues are going to take Henry over McCaffrey.
Dude, I'm telling you, people are going to look at, they're both older running backs, but they're going to look at the Baltimore situation and think that's more appealing at this point than
the next 5 games will determine quite a bit of this, because Derrick Henry has had 2 down games, and if he continues to kind of taper off down the stretch and McCaffrey plays, let's say, he's still getting close to 100 total yards a game and sometimes finds the end zone or whatever, I think it'll be a make or break stretch for both of their fantasy values going into next year, because they both could be mid-seconds because people are worried about the age and things of that nature. But both of these guys could be top 8 picks if they close up the season really strong.
Yeah. Let me just add another name here. I think you know where I'm leaning, but hypothetically, let's paint the picture.
Oh, Genty.
Well, him obviously, but I'm
Genty
talking
will
about
go in the first round. If the Cowboys draft him with a top 10 pick, he's going to go in the first
top
round.
5 fantasy pick. Yeah,
Yeah.
like without a debate. But I was going to bring up a guy that actually is already in the NFL right now. Let's paint this picture. High octane offense, MVP level quarterback this year, receiving usage. They don't draft or bring in another running back.
Are you trying to talk up Chase Brown as a first round fantasy pick right now?
Absolutely. If they don't add a running back this offseason, why not?
Yeah, I don't think you're outrageous for that take. I don't think it'll be that cut and dry, to be honest. I think they'll have like a third round pick running back at the very least.
Potentially. And like, again, like I think they will add a running back this offseason because I think Zach Moss probably dust after the neck injury. But I mean, Chase Brown's been playing great. He's been getting receiving usage. Like I think there's more commitment to him than you think from the team.
Yeah, I think he has a chance to get Gentied though. Also,
that's a good point. I think they're going to prioritize receiver. It sounds like he's leaving.
He's very Algier-esque. Like we really liked him as a prospect. Yeah. He's a good player. We maybe, from a fan perspective, would have just rolled with him instead of drafting a running back super high. Yeah. I could see Chase Brown being Gentied.
The reason why I don't think so is Genty's going to go before the Bengals pick because although they're in like kind of like the mid-teens right now,
I don't know, dude. They keep dropping games. He might not.
Well, but they're probably going to win like 8 or 9 games. I'm telling you right now, like Genty's going to go in the top 10. Like one team's going to take him, whether it's the Cowboys, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's
somebody's going to take him. Yeah. Once he tests, man, he's going to run in the 4.3s and he's going to have a 9.5 RAS and it's curtains. He's going to the top 10.
See, I'll also add to this. I take Brown in the 4th at best. Feels what situation? Like he's not even remotely comparable as a player to Rachaad White. Like he's just so much better.
Yeah,
that's where it's at.
Also, like Bucky Irving was added, which is what people like. If Bucky Irving was never drafted to the
Rachaad White would have paid off a 4th round.
Rachaad White probably would have went in like the mid to late 2nd round.
Well, I mean, let's paint this picture. This is gonna sound gross looking back. But no Bucky Irving in this backfield. What's the difference between Rachaad White and Kyren Williams?
Probably a little bit. I'd still probably prefer Kyren, but I think you could definitely make the argument that Rachaad White is producing at a Jacobs, James Cook, Kamara level, at least right now, without Bucky Irving in the backfield.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny. And I mean, also, we're not even talking about the fact that we might see a 1st round tight end again with Bowers. Like he might go in the 1st round of drafts again. We haven't seen that in a couple years.
Oh, you mean in fantasy drafts? Yeah. He could definitely go in the 1st round. It depends. Well, I think it would be difficult if like Shadur Sanders, let's say, is the quarterback of the Raiders, and we're relying on a rookie quarterback to give us like great production for a 1st round fantasy asset. I could see Bowers sliding into round 2 and 3 because of that.
Yeah. But okay. So going back to the takeaway. Sorry, I kind of had a brain lapse for a second.
Yeah. I had another takeaway if you want me to fire another one out there.
Yeah, go on. I'll quickly think of what else to talk about.
What the hell's going on with Justin Jefferson? Like, that was my other one.
It was a tough matchup. I warned it. I'm like, like the Bears are actually really good against the pass. It's just the unfortunate part is I didn't think Jefferson could get game scripted out of games like that. Like I don't know what happened.
He's finished outside top 24 wide receivers for 3 games in a row now.
We're gonna have we're gonna have to have the conversation. Where does he rank in wide receiver rankings moving forward? I think at least you take Nico over him.
I had Nico over him before that.
Okay.
I moved him before this week started. I moved him down to 5, below AJ Brown, Nico Collins, St. Brown, and Chase.
You're gonna call me crazy.
You gonna take Nakua over him?
That's what I was gonna bring up. Justin Jefferson or Puka Nakua. And throw Drake London into that while we can.
I think. But
throw Drake London into that too.
Yeah, I mean, London, you could definitely make that. Those are 5, 6, 7 for me. I have Jefferson 5, London 6, and Nakua 7. So it's very close.
Is your 1 to 4 Chase, Collins, Amon-Ra, AJ?
Yep. No, okay. Chase, Amon-Ra, Collins, AJ.
Yeah, sorry, I just meant the 4. I didn't mean exact order, but I have. That's another one too. Like, where do we rank Cup?
I'm at 10 right now.
I'm at 9. It feels low, bro.
I think that's probably correct, to be honest. I think that's where you should be.
Yeah, but like, dude, he's been averaging over 20 points per game when he's playing.
I got a dirt nap Deebo Samuel, bro. Like,
I told you, bro. I told you.
What's going on with this guy?
I got to raise DK Metcalf a little bit. Yeah, we're just like talking out of our rankings, but
there's like so many guys that I'm like, you're just so talented, but I hate you right now. Like Malik Neighbors and Deebo Samuel are 2 of those players where I'm like, what the hell do I do with you?
Also, shout out Tyreek Hill. He had an end zone target in his hands that got knocked away. And I'm thinking, man, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Because I played Zach, who traded him to me. So that wasn't fun.
Yeah. I missed one of my bets was like a 5-legger, and I missed it by a Marvin Harrison touchdown. And he like nearly got his foot in on the touchdown grab as well.
Yeah, that's
really, really horrible. Really horrible from my perspective. It was I think it was, I actually have it right here. The legs that I ended up hitting were Nico Collins touchdown, Rashad White touchdown, Jalen Waddle touchdown.
You know how salty I am that Collins had that second touchdown call back, dude. You know how fucking upset I was when that happened. I would have won in the fucking listener redraft league if that touchdown counted too. For the record, I lost by 6.
Yeah. So I hit JSN 60+ yards and then those 3 touchdowns, and the only thing that missed was Marvin Harrison touchdown. So
yeah,
unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, if I do say so.
Is there any? So in terms of other takeaways, I'll let you fire through some. Go ahead.
I had 24.6 hung on me by Keenan Allen in the listener league this week. What? I'm just catching up to that. Sorry. Outscored Nico Collins. Dope. In terms of like game takeaways, you mentioned the Justin Jefferson. I think that is a big one. I mean, we could mention the 49ers a little bit more. I think, it was Jared in here who said it too. Trent Williams being in and out of the lineup has really dampened their offense. That's been a big piece too.
You say dampened?
Dampened, like their offensive production.
Dampened. That's supposed to be dampened and hampered combined.
Oh yeah, fuck my bad.
Put a damper. I guess that's correct. No, that's right.
Fair enough. Then I mean, Bo Nix is probably the rookie of the year favorite at this point now with how Jaden Daniels has been looking as of late, right? Him or Brock Bowers is going to win it.
Yeah, I think Bo Nix. I mean, another 273-2 for him today. Also horrible. I went into that matchup about halftime against Sal in the Flock League, thinking I'm like, oh, dude, I'm chilling right now. Like Bo Nix is doing nothing. Cortland Sutton's doing nothing. Juwan Jennings is doing nothing.
He had the Nick Sutton stack. Oh,
and God. If you recall, I swear I'm not making excuses with this take. I swear I'm not making excuses. But I swear to God, in the Flock League, no team I've played against had a single player of note on bye. The week I was supposed to get a free win was Sal in week 12. He had London, Allen, all these guys on bye, Amari Cooper, and he traded all of them before I played them. I know, beat the guy on your schedule. Shut up and stop.
Speaking of buys,
I get it. I'm so annoyed that I didn't get my free win in week 12 that I'd been chalking up on the schedule all season long.
Speaking of buys, can we talk about the fact that with Josh Allen on bye, Dev Joe smacked a Barkley-led fucking Badaki team?
I don't know how that happened, dude.
He put up 165, dude.
How is Joe scoring all these points, dude? It's like every decision I've made in that league is like, it's killing me. It's like you make this decision, you're getting here, enjoy your 3 fantasy points, and then Joe's just like, I don't even care, and I'll take 160 or whatever.
Look at these scores: 29 basically from Tua, and you see he played against Barkley. 29 from Tua, 17.5 from Abdullah. He's got some single digits, Javonte, which by the way, -2 yards. I picked him to go higher than 37.5. So
I did see that.
Jokes on me. Leggett, Thielen. We got Zach Ertz in there. Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison, the kicker. Oh,
Will Lutz.
The defense, he dropped 19 fab on. Like, dude, Joe just turns water into wine. It's really that simple.
I don't know how he's doing this, man. I don't know how he's doing this. There was
he's 6-6, dude. He was 2-6.
I don't know how that's happening, man. I have no idea how that's happening. I have a way worse record than him. Not even close. I'm getting smoked by him.
Yeah, you want me to paint the picture of the Flock League this year? Badaki, literally a month ago, was in second place with a 5-2 record. And Joe was
the most
last.
Points in the league, too.
With the most points in the league, and Joe was in dead last, and now Joe's above him.
That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. I'm going to be wearing a T-shirt, by the way. I'm going to be in last this week. Nathan won, didn't he?
Yeah,
Nathan won.
He
but
did.
I think we're doing the toilet bowl to
it's a toilet
who
bowl.
Actually wears it anyway. So it really doesn't matter if I am in 12th in the regular season or not, because if I lose the toilet bowl, then obviously I'm going to wear the T-shirt. So
yeah. Also, dude, shout out Thomas, the editor, smacking the living daylights out of Mason this week.
Yeah, I feel. Do you know what? You know this feeling? I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate to this as well. When you have a really good team, are you concerned at all about your opponent?
Yes. You have to
I'm
be.
not. When I so
Really?
my listener redraft team, for example, when I go into a matchup, I'm very focused on, okay, which decisions do I make? Who do I need to put in my lineup? These guys are going to project well, so that's how I'm going to do it. But when I have a bad team, like I have in the Flock League, I'm very focused on, okay, thank God Lamar has a tough matchup this week on my opponent's team. Or thank God this guy.
Oh, I don't do any of that. No, I thought you meant worry as in like, oh, I'm worried I can lose this matchup. I thought
No,
that's
no.
what you
Let
meant.
me know in the chat right now. When you guys have a bad fantasy team, you're way more focused on how your opponent could score a low amount of points versus how you're going to score a lot of points, if that makes any sense. That's where
The
I'm at
way
with it.
the way you score a lot of points is by flexing Nick Westbrook Akine.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, I can't believe I was wrong on that again. But yeah, it's so annoying. This is such a weird year of fantasy football to me because
Dude,
I
it's
feel
whack.
like I've been wrong about everything because the two leagues I care about most, I'm literally in 12th place in. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm in 12th place in my home league, about to be 3-9. And in the Flock League, I'm going to be in 12th place in. Yet we were talking about it before we went live. I'm advancing damn near 30% of my best ball teams this year. And every other league that I'm in first place in our listener redraft league, first place in my other, high school buddies league. I'm all my dynasty competitive teams. I'm like doing really, really well. Like it feels like the leagues I care about most are the only ones that I can't do anything right in.
Yep.
And then everything else that's just like, oh, we'll fire off 100 best ball teams and see what happens.
Sorry.
It's like my takes are aging like fine wine in those. It's weird. The players I chose to invest in home leagues are just, I got screwed.
I'll talk about this to you off stream because obviously I'm not going to completely spoil the next Flock League video, but I'm looking at the standings right now and it might be one of the most fucking craziest things I've ever seen.
Well, how close it is?
I'll tell you exactly what I mean after because obviously I'm not going to spoil that, but yeah, it is it's insanely close right now.
Yeah, no, it is. That's what makes me really mad that I didn't beat Sal this week because I had a pretty good point performance. Like I put up 135 with on Thursday night having 6 points from 2 players, from Cedric Tillman and Jerome Ford. So the fact that my team bounced back in a way that I still put up 135 because DJ Moore had a good game and Mahomes had a good game and so on and so forth. I feel like I was like, okay, some 135 if we're doing league median scoring or whatever, I probably would have beaten like half the teams in the league with that score. It feels like that's been my recipe for my downfall this season is like my big weeks come when my opponent has a huge week.
And who knows, maybe if McBride didn't drop 25 PPR points on me in a game, his offense scored 6 points, that would have been appreciated.
Would he have 12 catches?
12 for 133, and they scored 6 points as an offense. Maybe throw it to Marvin Harrison Jr. for a change. Maybe you'll score some fucking points. I'm just malding because I played against McBride.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with Marvin, man. Like I saw Josh Norris tweet he's like 3 games of 55 yards or more this year.
I saw one. It's like it'd be real cool if the Cardinals added a first-round receiver after the year, and I was fucking laughing my ass off.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Was there any? So I don't think generally there was too many takeaways. Mike Evans came back. Also, that was another fantasy takeaway that a lot of people were looking for. He had 5 for 60.
Josh Jacobs game.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs monster game. That's I don't know if you remember, but the 2 players that we drafted the most of in Spicy Hot's
is
best
Jacobs
ball
for sure.
Teams, that were Jacobs and Jordan Addison were the 2 guys that we just couldn't stop drafting, and they both had monster games.
He's gonna share us his teams that we actually. What's his? It's Jester J, right?
Yes, I think so. Jester J 34, I think it is. I guess we can check his stuff.
Yeah, I just took that in. We could literally look on BBMDB. Yeah, because he never actually told us the exact.
That's not right.
Jester J 35, I think.
Is it 35?
I think so.
No teams found. We'll have to ask him what his username is after this, but yeah, I'm impressed just honestly with how things are. Like we got 2 more weeks. This is like honestly, I don't know about you. As fun as redraft leagues are, as fun as dynasty leagues are, I am getting more and more invested every year about how much fun the arms race best ball mania is.
Right, yeah.
Like just looking how many teams you have advancing. Like this time of year, weeks 13 to 14 are so effing fun for best ball teams, seeing how your things are going to materialize. And also, shout out to Saquon Barkley because now my big dog is officially advancing by about 15 points. And Saquon just puts up absolute numbers for me. And in a week that I had a bunch of players on bye, like I had no Breece Hall this week. I had no couple of Bills receivers that I didn't have. Like I got a great performance at a JSN to help pick up the slack. Got a great performance at a Cortland Sutton to help pick up the slack. Nick Chubb has his first good game of the year as well. That felt really good.
Yeah, and for those of you that are out there, like obviously we've been streaming best ball drafts. We've been talking about best ball. Like if you're curious, like how we're doing, like we were talking about it this morning. Me and Corey are fucking scaling in best ball right now. Like for reference, if you guys are unfamiliar, 12-team league, 2 teams advance, so 1 out of 6 odds of advancing. So if you're doing the math there, you're at about what would it be, a
16.6% chance.
16.6% chance of advancing, like on average. So if you submit 100 teams, on average, you should advance 16.6 of your teams. So this is Corey. So Corey's advancing 27% of his teams. And then if you also go
by the way, too, that's just my BBMs. And I threw a couple of other bullets into the Chow Chow and the Greyhound and the Big Dog and stuff. And the percentage is even higher in those because I did 1 Big Dog bullet. I'm advancing that team. 1 sprint draft, advancing that team in first place. 1 Greyhound draft, it was a single entry, advancing that team. 4 Chow Chows, I'm advancing 2 of those teams. So my best ball takes have been really good this year so far.
Yeah. And dude, mine are really good too. I'm at an expected advance rate of almost 24%. And like we're just cooking. Like, dude, this one, the next closest team that's not advancing is 251 points behind me. Am I reading that right?
That's crazy, dude. The highest discrepancy I have.
Look at the squad.
Yeah, that's a unit of a team right there.
Kyler Burrow, Barkley, Pacheco, Brown, Chandler, Tracy, estimate with Chase. I have Barkley and Chase on this team.
Yeah, that's kind of insane. That's kind of insane.
Yeah,
I don't have anything discrepancy-wise bigger than 167. So that one's a pretty large discrepancy that you have there.
Yeah, for sure. Like, dude, and you mentioned your other thing. So we are currently, I'm in 1 Big Dog. I'm advancing out of it. I'm in first place there. I'm in 1 Chow Chow. I'm advancing out of it. I'm in 1 Greyhound. I'm advancing out of it. I'm in 3 Puppies. I'm advancing 1, and 1's currently in 4th place. How far behind? About like 70 points behind, but I have players like, for example, Tyreek Hill could scale up moving forward. Who else is here? Like maybe Jonathan Brooks gets some run at the end of the year. Like obviously that's a little bit more opium, but like there's are some hidden like skeleton key players that I have. Sorry, I can't speak English.
Yeah. No, it's been pretty good. I remember last year, one thing I'm never doing again, first of all, is going to a week 15 NFL game, because last year we were at the Bills game and I was so focused on how my best ball teams were doing. And I mean, part of it was that like the game was kind of boring because it was just James Cook absolutely
we sucked ass.
Just running it down the Cowboys' throat. But week 15 being able to tilt my best ball advances is going to be really, really fun this year. And this week also we're going to have a little bit of a weird programming week because 2 things. Number 1, it's Thanksgiving, so there's games all day on Thursday. And there's a game on Friday because of Black Friday. So I don't know how we're going to do this, Danny. We haven't actually discussed this yet. I think I'm going to do matchups that matter on Wednesday because we won't have a trade target video. Because most people have had their trade deadlines. So I think I'm going to do matchups that matter on Wednesday so that all the games are covered still. And then I don't know. I put out a blast in the Discord today.
Maybe a DD on Thursday?
Yeah, I said we should do a DD on Thursday or maybe on Friday even too. Instead of Thursday, because there's games all day Thursday. So maybe we'll drop the DD on Friday instead of Thursday. There's just 1 game on that day. On TikTok and on probably Shorts too, we're going to have a bunch of like picks because Underdog has so many promos this week. They have, boosts and free squares and a ton of stuff there. I believe they're calling it the Feast or something like that. Feast week. So that is going to be really cool on Underdog. And the other thing, programming note that I haven't told you about is I'm moving on Sunday coming week. So I'm going to miss like the stream in the morning, first of all, and also probably the entire slate, if not close to it, on Sunday. Definitely the 1 p.m. games for sure. So,
well, how many? There's not too many games on Sunday this week because there's 3 Thursday
it's nice that this was the week that was going to happen because I'm moving, obviously, so that's great.
Do we have any plan for the Black Friday game?
I was just going to put out we could just put the DD out that day. And I was going to just do a TikTok of any picks that I wanted to do for that game.
Okay. So yeah, those are 4 games. And then we still only have 1 on Monday. So then that would be what, like the other 8 or so games that are on the Sunday. So
yeah, so it's a good week. It's a good week to miss Sunday football for me because there's less games on. But I think, like I said, matchups that matter will definitely be on Wednesday so that we cover those games beforehand. And again, the tier lists are going to be weird because they're going to like half the players are going to have played already in the tier list, which is going to suck, but we'll still have those for Saturday. What's up?
Holy fuck, my eyes just got watery. Sorry, I was looking because you mentioned like, oh yeah, we're looking at like the BBM teams and some of the other teams. I did not realize I had a puppy team that like I'll just show it. Sorry,
Guys just looking at it. Guys just catching up on his best ball teams right now.
Well, it's exciting, like, dude. So Burrow, Mayfield, Bijan, Barkley, Brooks, Dobbins, Chipley. Then I have like really like underrated players is what I'm kind of pointing out.
Jalen Polk, noted underrated player.
No, but like in terms of advance rate, right? So Evans, Higgins, Ridley, Addison, Polk, obviously whatever. Mike Williams, whatever.
Merchant team right here, that wide receiver.
Right? And then at tight end, I have Pitts and Freiermuth with his Jiren. But I got excited when I saw Bijan and Barkley, and then I know Evans is fucking closing schedule. So I had to show that because that's somehow in first place.
Yeah, I guess we'll take those.
We hear that?
Did I just hear DD? Yeah, we will have a DD this week. I think Friday makes the most sense for when we would do that. So
AJ's licking his lips about that, eh?
Yeah, tomorrow we'll have waiver additions, and we actually have like a better waiver slate than we've had in recent weeks because of some of the injuries. And then Wednesday will be matchups that matter. Thursday will be live before kickoff for the Thanksgiving games because it is not Thanksgiving for us, obviously. So we are Canadian. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving in November. Our Thanksgiving was like in week 4 or whatever week it was. But yeah, we'll have you guys covered for that. And then, like I said, there's going to be a shit ton of underdog promos. So we're going to probably be popping out TikToks and shorts left, right, and center, and probably building out stuff on the Pick'em stream as well.
Also, there's one good game on Thanksgiving this year, like Lions versus Bears, Cowboys versus Giants, and then the one good game.
Like Lions versus Bears is kind of interesting.
I think the Lions are just going to
4 p.m. game is the tryptophan nap for a lot of Americans out there. Yes. Or the Thanksgiving football game that people play in their backyards. You should be playing that during the Cowboys and Giants for sure.
It's probably going to be more competitive than that game.
Yeah. I like,
dude, it's not even going to be Cowboys versus frickin' Giants. It's going to look like Army versus Navy out there.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. So I heard Heed the Call did a funny episode, the Underdog guys, Dan and Mark and Connor Orr and those guys. They did a funny episode where they broke down like the NFL figures they'd want to have at like a Thanksgiving dinner table, and they were so funny. Like they were like Nick Sirianni, they want to have at their dinner table because Nick Sirianni's the uncle that goes way too hard and injures a 12-year-old at like the Thanksgiving football game in the backyard. And they got to bring Nick Bosa because he's your like weirdly Trump supporty cousin that comes to the Thanksgiving
in his pickup truck.
Oh, it was so funny. I was going through, I was like, they were like, Jameis Winston's got to do the blessing for the meal.
You got to mention which NFL player did they say is the one who brings the spike ball net?
The spike ball net. That's got to be like who's like overly competitive that like would want to do like a game like that. Who's like fun but like overly competitive.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that was also who popped into my mind too. That's funny.
Hey yo,
dude. But anyways, we're kind of off the rails at this
Athletics.
Point. Let me take a look if we got any more Dynasty trades submitted. For some reason, you guys were crickets on the Dynasty trade thread this morning. Where are we here? We only had one trade that popped in. But if you guys do have any Dynasty trades, you could always just leave them in the chat. Maybe we'll go through some comments down there. But P-Walk was one of the trades that was submitted here. He ended up submitting this one. He said the trade deadline is this week. Cannot get a better running back. All the contending running backs are already on contending teams. So he decided to upgrade at quarterback, and he had this trade on the table for him as well. So this trade he ended up making, and then he also has another trade that I'll break down here in a second. So he ended up upgrading at quarterback because all the competitive running backs, he said, were like kind of taken in by competitive teams. So he upgrades from Kyler Murray to Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Godwin no longer useful for the rest of the year because he's out. So you get Tyreek for the production there, and then you downgrade hypothetically from Chase Brown to Ramondre Stevenson. Although there is a world in which Stevenson becomes more valuable than Chase Brown if Chase Brown has a lot of added competition in the offseason. Stevenson at least has a big contract that tethers him to the Patriots that makes you feel a little bit better. But essentially the nuts and bolts are you're getting Tyreek for the production and you're upgrading to Lamar.
So let's boil this down. I like Kyler Murray. There's probably a 2026 first and second difference.
I honestly think all the picks plus Kyler equals Lamar.
Yep.
To be honest,
I'm perfectly fine canceling that out. So then you look at it: Tyreek, Stevenson, and fourth for Godwin and Chase Brown. Even if we just said like What do you view Chase Brown versus Tyreek Hill right now in Dynasty? Because like I think I lean Tyreek Hill, but like also there's a possibility where if Chase Brown has like the nuts happen to him this offseason, he could be like a top 6 or 7 Dynasty running back because of his age.
I think once you factor in the new rookie class, he'd probably be capped as like an RB1.
Oh, right. Yeah. Pre-rookies.
More like, I think
RB12.
The best comparison for Chase Brown, honestly, and it sucks because this guy just started being shit at football, but I think it's Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce skipped over the draft. Like nobody was added. He was, going to be the guy again. And then he just decided to not know how to play football. So that's what ended up happening to him. But Chase Brown is basically set up to be Dameon Pierce all over again, who was like a back end dynasty RB1.
You know what it reminds me more of? It reminds me more of like, I think he's just a better version of Kyron. That's really it.
I mean, that would be really nutted, but
but like in terms of like better in terms of talent. Like I'm not saying better fantasy asset. I'm saying better in terms of talent.
I think if you get 6 games more of Chase Brown just scorching the NFL,
Chase Brown over Kyron Dynasty,
there's a very good chance that the Bengals will view him as their starting running back going forward. And the coach speak, early coach speak that we get from them is going to be crucial. Because if let's say they add Kyle Manangi in like the 4th round or something, like, are we worried about
Bowlings?
Yeah, like, are we worried if they add Woody Marks in round 4? Like, probably not, realistically.
No, I agree. I mean, Chase Brown's just better than those guys.
Yeah, exactly. But we've talked about this with the 2025 running back class. The other positions are not that strong at, offensive tackle and, those positions. So if the Bengals are on the board in the mid 3rd round and Ollie Gordon is on the board, that would worry us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ollie Gordon finally, by the way, had a good game this week. So.
Yeah, shout out Ollie Gordon. He finally.
But yeah, I think I like your side of the trade here, P-Walk. And he does also say he has another running back addition on the table for him where he would be giving up his own 2025 first for David Montgomery.
No.
So here's his current running back core, just to give you an idea.
Well,
of what he's got
think of it like this. Paint the picture. Why would you trade a first for David Montgomery when, let's just say, the running back that you could probably get at 110 next year, you're going to rank above Montgomery in dynasty rankings?
You are, but you're also factoring in that he's
the production. Yeah,
win.
I get it.
His current running backs are Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Rico Dowdle, and that's Ramondre Stevenson now after this trade.
Go cheaper if you really want a guy. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine as well. Like, I think if you're going to give up a first for David Montgomery, the production is going to be really helpful to you. But like,
either go for like a Bijan type or go for a cheap one. David Montgomery's just the weird middle ground. Like, what does he do?
Yeah, that is. I mean, he helps you. I think
he does, but like
even in his flexes, like you're gonna have to decide between Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor and David Montgomery on any given week.
Exactly.
Like it's not like you're like you said, if you're getting Bijan or Achane or somebody that's gonna like decisively upgrade your starting lineup and also make it so that you don't have to make like a difficult start sit decision every single week. That kind of makes more sense to me. And like, if you're going to give up a 2025 first, like late first or whatever, and if your sole objective is to get production, like Joe Mixon's going to give you better production. Derrick Henry's probably going to give you better production. So and those guys also, you start them as well. So exactly. I don't know. Montgomery does kind of feel like a bit of a middle ground, although you're probably getting maybe an extra year out of Montgomery as opposed to Mixon and Henry. I don't know. The way I look at it is I think that's a slight overpay. If you could get David Montgomery for an early 2nd round pick, I think that would totally be fine.
Well, it'd be a late 2, so like a 2 and a 3.
Oh yeah, you won't get him.
Well, I'm saying that because he said he's a contending team, so
right? Unless he has somebody else's 2nd rounder on his roster, it won't be an early 2nd.
Yeah, like at the most, if you wanted to do, hey, I'm going to give you my late 2025 2, and I'll give you my 26 2 for your 2026 3, like something like that.
He doesn't have his 2. So I'm looking at his thing right now. He only has his 1, his 3, and 2 4s.
Okay. Regardless, I'm not giving up
his 2 and 26 either.
Not giving up the 25 1 for Montgomery. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think you're kind of all in at this point. So I get like, because you're also going to be competing again next year, really, because you don't have a 26 first. I would say you're probably better off trying to use. Let's say you could upgrade from Jonathan Taylor using your 2025 first to Bijan Robinson. Like that's probably a better move in my opinion.
I agree. Like I would rather add up to a guy like Bijan.
But yeah,
because it didn't sound like you needed depth all that bad either. Like you just need a hammer.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple trades in the chat that I just wanted to go over since we didn't have too many dynasty trades to go over here. Oh, actually, Austin had one here. He said just traded Pacheco for McLaurin. I don't think this is a dynasty trade, but he said I have Bijan, James Cook, Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker. My wide receiver 2 is Garrett Wilson, so I need someone if Rodgers is out.
In a redraft, I'd take McLaurin probably. That's close.
Yeah, I would rather have Pacheco in Dynasty, to be honest.
Yeah, I would. In Dynasty, I'd take Pacheco, but I mean, in redraft too, like I am higher than market is on Pacheco overall because I do think he has a really high ceiling. The issue though is that there is still the risk that you've talked about too, where I mean, they've given Kareem Hunt a bell cow role. They clearly trust Kareem Hunt. Even if it takes him until week 15, week 16, like we can't afford to wait on Pacheco until then, unless you're in an extremely advantageous spot where he's more so in a lineup addition rather than a lineup dependent, if that makes sense.
Which like there's very few of you guys out there that are probably in that position to trade for Pacheco, where he's just going to be a bench stash for you.
You got a first round buy locked up. You're first or second in your league, and
like my listener league team is one of the few teams that would be like a good Pacheco spot, because like in addition to having a first round buy locked up, I already have like Chase Brown, Breece Hall, James Cook on my team.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But Brunel said, I got offered Tracy and Najee for Pacheco. Should I take it? I would easily take Tracy and Najee for Pacheco, assuming this is a redraft league, but it would be closer in
even
Dynasty.
In a Dynasty, I would take it.
I think I'd probably take it in Dynasty as well, but it'd be closer in Dynasty.
Yeah, and that's only with the risk, like, oh, maybe the Giants are done draft. It to me, again, maybe they fire Dayball and the new coach wants to add a guy. I get it. But if you're the Giants and you have to rebuild so much of that team, including adding a new quarterback, at what point are you actually allocating a high resource to replace the rookie running back who's averaging 5 yards per carry? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me from an allocation standpoint.
I think teams, one thing that we do need to factor in a little bit more, because I'm sure it will happen.
They just draft good players.
Somebody's going to get nuked. Like, it's going to happen. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe it's Chase Brown. Maybe it's Tyrone Tracy. Somebody's going to get nuked. But I do think the rate of which players are going to get nuked is going to start to decrease more and more over time. Because before it was like, oh, we got a 5th round running back. He's dead in the water. Like, he's cooked. There's no way he's ever going to hold on to the starting job because, a team is going to invest higher draft capital in another running back or go pay a running back or whatever the case is. But I think some teams are smart enough to understand it's like, oh, I got this guy for 3 more years. Like, I'm just going to use him.
Also, I have to get this out of the way now because I am getting nervous. So the Cowboys win yesterday. The Cowboys are probably going to finish between 6.
You 7. Don't want to be between pick 8 and 12, brother. You are going to be.
You know why I'm
ready
saying
to
that?
Learn Ashton Genty. If
that's
the case.
You don't think Jerry Jones saw what fucking Saquon Barkley did last night?
Yeah, he probably did.
And seeing it for a division rival.
Yeah,
that's what worries me now. If we were picking 5, 6, I don't think they're dumb enough to take a running back, even though they've done it before.
I mean, they did it already.
Even though they've done it
less than 10 years ago. So.
No, but like the way they've treated running backs since that happened, like how do you go from employing bottom of like the scraps Ezekiel Elliott types to like, yeah, let's draft the first round running back? It's weird to me, but it's more
that
plausible
makes
if they pick 8 to 10.
They might do it though, because they know their running back position has been a liability.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you get Ben Johnson or Liam Cohen, go take your Ashton Genty. You give yourself out of that
anywhere. I don't think. I think Liam's going to stay another year.
Dude, if Jerry offered him a bag saying, "Come be the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys," you don't think he would take that?
I don't think he's. I don't think he's experienced enough to the point that he would be somebody's number 1 candidate. I think that's my thing with Liam Cohen. He doesn't have enough experience to be a head coach yet, but neither did Dave Canales, and he got a head coaching job. So,
well, I'm curious because Liam Cohen would have connections with the Rams guys. Which would also have connections with Shanahan. I mean, my dream would be like if you don't get Ben Johnson but you still ended up getting like Liam Cohen as your head coach plus a defense coordinator guy like Robert Saleh. I think that'd be the perfect combo.
Yeah, that would definitely make some sense for the Cowboys for sure. I think there's better candidates out there that people would prefer to Cohen. I think Cohen's a good candidate, but like I think there's going to be people who prefer,
Well, it's like the Lincoln Riley debate when Jason Garrett got fired. It's like, Lincoln Riley runs the best offense, but then they hired Mike McCarthy because he had experience.
Yeah. You know there's going to be like 2 or 3 retreads that get hired probably too.
Hopefully not for us. That's all I
Yeah. Anyways, we'll go through a couple more Dino trades from the chat here. Nathan says, in a 1 quarterback 12-team dynasty, would you trade a projected 107 to 110 for Odunze?
Yeah.
I probably would. Yeah. My thought process on Odunze is like, he's not a face planner, but he hasn't gained any value either.
Well, the thing is like, I keep talking about it with you. DJ Moore finally played like DJ Moore, but Rome Odunze out-targeted him again. So it's like, when is Rome Odunze going to actually be efficient? He had 10 targets again yesterday, and he had 5 for 39 as a stat line. It's like, when are we going to see the efficiency spike?
The offense is still figuring some things out, as is the quarterback who
Caleb played awesome yesterday, though.
I wouldn't say he played awesome. He had some really sick plays for sure. But I watched a good portion of that game, and he still was somewhat hesitant on some of his decision making, and he missed a couple of reads and stuff. But for the most part, like, you'll take what he did yesterday over what he was doing earlier in the year.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, if Caleb was making mistakes and still put up a 32 for 47, 340, and 2 tug for no interception stat line, maybe the ceiling for this offense
literally take that every single game for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and of course, DeAndre Swift finally regressed back down to earth. Who would have thought? Not us. Maybe us. Absolutely us.
I did Roshan. So Roshan almost outsnapped him 2 weeks ago. Let me see what the split was.
2 carries for 2 yards and no touchdown.
40. So Roshan, since Waldron has been gone in week 11, Swift went down from like roughly 65 to 70% of the snaps every single week down to 54% in week 11. And Roshan spiked up to 44% in week 11. And then this week on week 12, it was 53% for Swift and 40% for Roshan, but he didn't get nearly as many carries as he got in week 11. So definitely worth monitoring that backfield. But Jamal also has a question here in the chat. He says, I've Bijan a bunch of handcuffs. Mason carried for some times. I paid Brooks 2025 first and a third for Mixon and a third and a second. So
that's too much for me.
I think he's third in points for, and he has the rest of his picks. So if this was a bonus first round pick, as in you still have your own, then I don't think this is as bad because it was like kind of like a buying power pick that you had anyways. I just maybe would have gone for someone with a longer shelf life than Mixon. If you could have gotten
the issue with this deal is I think it's undervaluing Brooks a little bit with a 2026 2 specifically. That's probably going to be a mid to late 2 if I were to guess. So that's already like, again, maybe that's fair value for Brooks, but even if we're doing that, the thirds cancel out and then it's a 25 first for Mixon.
Which, like we were talking, to be honest, if that's projected to be late, I'm actually fine paying.
But if it goes back to like the David Montgomery thing, again, I would probably rather buy Mixon than Montgomery specifically with a production frame of mind. But I would need more than just Mixon to give my 25-1 personally. I would. Because I'm looking at this running back class, dude. It's like we go to RB 6 or 7 and we could be talking about a top 15 dynasty running back.
Yeah, no, we could. I think if you got Mixon and who's like a throw-in running back playing kind of well, like Rashad White.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like that would be maybe a little bit more fair. But yeah, I think giving a first straight up for any running back not named one of the top 6 or 7 dynasty running backs is kind of difficult to do just in the meantime. And P-Walk's actually in the chat. He says, so use JT in a first to tier up. Only if you can get to Gibbs, Brees, Bijan, or Achane, honestly.
I think call me crazy. I think this is people are going to say, oh yeah, you don't want to sell JT right now because he's going to figure it out. It's like, he has one really good game where he has like 20 fantasy points and he's averaging 7 yards, like not 7, 5.5, 6 yards per carry. I'm navigating the streets. I'm seeing what I can get for him. Like, can you trade up, straight up? Like if we're thinking at the running back position in Dynasty, it's weird with Taylor because he's kind of in the area where he has more value than the other vets, but it takes a big plus to move up to the young guys ahead of him.
He's like the only running back in that tier also because ETN coming into the year was there too, but then ETN like lost his job.
Kyron?
Yeah, Kyron and JT are basically the only 2 guys in that tier now.
Yeah.
And then Barkley and McCaffrey are probably in that tier as well, but they're
probably Walker too.
Yeah, Walker as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I know what you mean. It's like, I would rather, like, again, maybe are you in a position to, he's probably not in a position to get Barkley because he's going to cost you much right now because the guy's averaging 24 points per game.
Yeah. It's wild because
it's weird.
It's the shallowest that tier has ever been.
Yeah.
Like the JT, Kyron, Kenneth Walkers, there's 3 of those guys right now. And then Barkley and McCaffrey are veterans, and Mixon and Henry, and those guys are all veterans. But like, we haven't seen many guys in that territory. So that's what's going to be exciting about the 2025 running back class, hopefully, is that we load in a couple dudes that, suddenly Omari and Hampton's valued similar to those guys, or suddenly Ollie Gordon or, Caleb Johnson or whoever like gets good draft capital and decent landing spots start to file into that area of the running back tier rankings for Dynasty.
Call me crazy, dude. Is Barkley almost in his own tier right now? After the top young guys before
definitely.
The rest?
Yeah, definitely. I think you could, if you were a competitive team, I actually think you could make the argument to take Barkley over some of the other guys. I just wouldn't do it personally. Same. I think you could make the argument for it though.
But like he's probably like a 3rd round startup pick now.
Yeah.
As a 27-year-old running back.
Which is insane because like I drafted
getting.
him. I remember in our Tone Setter Truthers startup, I drafted him in the 3rd round. And I thought, is this stupid paying a 3rd round startup price tag for, I think, a 25-year-old running back at the time who was coming off of injury. And he hasn't really lost any value. And I've gotten 2. I mean, I should have won at least one of the championships, but I got bounced in round 1 both times, or round 2 after the bye. This year, again, I'm tracking to have a bye. Maybe it'll be 3rd time.
Yo, you want to know what's going to be so unlucky about you getting a bye this year?
What?
I'm projected to lose my 5th game, and I'm probably going to work into the wild card, and you might have to face me in the 2nd round.
I swear, if I lose in week 16 in the Tone Setter Truthers League for the 4th year in a row,
so
I will be pissed.
Oh, you're good now. So for those of you that are curious, I currently have 100 plus more points, or not 100 plus because you're actually within 100, but everybody else, I have 100 more points than the rest of the league in this league. And I'm about to be 7-5. I'm about to be 7-5. Yeah. Unless Lamar drops 34.
Wait, with this team, see if you're on my side of the bracket, because hopefully you are not. If I'm in first, you won't be, right?
No, I mean, obviously. Only one person can be first.
No. You won't be on my side of the bracket, though. I mean, you'll be playing the 6th seed. Does it reseed? I always forget this. I feel like every year I have to learn this lesson again.
Sure, but what you're not taking in this week is that Doc won, right? Yeah, Doc won. Karma Chameleon won. So I'm falling at worst, or I'm already falling to 5th place.
You're falling to 5th place?
Falling to 5th place. So you're going to have to,
I'm
going to be on your side of the bracket right now.
If you're the 4 or the 5 seed, you will be on my side of the bracket. But if you're the 3 seed, you will not.
I just fell from the 3 seed to the 5
Unless I fall to 2nd place.
Yeah, I just fell from the 3 to the 5 this week. Yeah, you might, that might be more beneficial to you. I can't lie.
Who's in 2nd right now? Caleb?
Yeah. So I play Flet next week, who like also too is like a pretty good
Caleb lost.
Too. Yeah, I could have been 2nd this week, eh?
So I'm pretty much locked into the 1 seed most likely.
Unless the only way, if Lamar drops 34 tonight, I go to 2nd place.
Do you?
Yeah, because you said Caleb lost. I have more points scored than Caleb. And I'd be 8-4. And I'd be 1 game behind you out of first. I either fall to 5th or I go into 2nd.
That's kind of insane. It's funny because I have a guaranteed win next week because I'm playing Jay Metal and he's in last place and he's tanking. But in week 14, I have kind of like a bipocalypse situation going on, but I do have enough depth to kind of make up for it. So it's possible that I'm still fine, but it's going to be an interesting finish to the season.
AJ, we're not doing this about unlucky in the Tone Setters. Have you seen my points against in that league?
Let me take a look at it right now. I think it's something absurd. Like I have like 400 less points against than you or something. I have literally 300 less points against than you do. You have 1,643 points against.
And I got another 145 dropped on me this week.
In AJ's defense, he is 4th in points for. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, AJ's
team is more good. Points for than anybody in the playoffs except for me, you, and Caleb.
Yeah, no, his team's good. I'm not discrediting that. It's just, fuck, man.
And he's who I play, by the way, in week 14. So he has me left on the schedule also.
Yeah, we are indeed both getting capped for the record. Wait, you play AJ week 14?
I do.
Oh, that's not nice. Why does he get fucked by the fantasy gods in that regard? Who do I play week 14? I played Doc and Flet in the last 2 games of the year.
Oh, I just remembered something. We played Doc and Flet. Yeah, that's kind of tough.
Last 2 games.
I
lost the J Metal.
Something. I was like, oh, this is the first year I'm going to have my 1st round pick in this league in the history of it as well. And then I traded my 1st for Devontae Smith last week, which I'm fine with, honestly. I think I'm totally cool with that trade. But like, yeah, I thought I was going to have my 1 for the first time in the history of this league. Last year was the only trade with. What's up?
Who did you trade with?
I traded with J Metal. He wanted Justin Fields for like an upside QB in case he signs in free agency. So I gave him Justin Fields, my 1st and my 4th, and he gave me Devontae Smith and Doc's 3rd. So I ended up actually getting a slight upgrade on the. I would have done Justin Fields in the 1st straight for Devontae Smith, but I thought I could get a little bit more. So I asked him for a 3rd for a 4 swap.
Yeah, no, that seems like a fair deal. Also, dude, yeah. I might need to make a trade in this league because I have Olave on IR and I have BTJ without Trevor Lawrence. Like if I can
Did
get
you
fair value, of course.
also, did you see my trade that me and Flet made yesterday in Debbie Degeneracy?
I didn't see it yet. Let me take a look in a second. You'll get my live reaction to this.
I think it's probably one of the more fair trades you're going to see in a while, but go ahead.
Okay. All right. I got to check it on my phone because Sleeper's dumb and doesn't let me
Doesn't
check
have
it
best
on
ball.
fucking stupid ass app. Let me see. Okay. So Debbie Degeneracy, you said?
Yeah. Debbie Degeneracy. Context
by the
of
way,
this league. I am 18-4 and I'm about to win. It has a league median. So I'm about to be 20-4 in this league.
You know, I have 193 right now, and I'm projected to lose to James because he scored 210 on me.
Hey, the league median socialism coming in clutch for you.
I mean, I would rather just go 2-0 this week, to be honest. Fuck.
Yeah,
Why is James dropping 210? Okay, wait. You're going to get my live reaction to what. So he had Darnold drop 25, Jordan Addison dropped 30, McBride dropped 34, like
AJ
Cooper
23, Cole Kmet had 18.65.
All right. Like, all right. The guy who went all in at
started Cooper Rush.
The guy who went all in at 3-12 is currently beating me.
It's annoying that he's winning games because I have his first.
I have his first too. I have his first Debbie.
Okay, I have his first rookie. And I'm trying to get Cam Ward with it, but it's not going to be 101. I thought it was going to be 101 at the time. I'm like, oh, this is going to be Cam Ward.
I don't care what it costs. Whoever ends up with the first overall Debbie draft pick, please, for the love of God, let me know what the cost is. I'm going to go and get my boy Bryce Underwood. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Fair enough. Did you see the trade that you were going to the app to look for?
Right. Sorry. I see Ayuk for DJ Moore. Yeah, that is a very fair deal. You know what?
Right?
That makes a ton of, you know what?
I'm a team that is currently 20-4, and I need a receiver that can help me right now. So I traded Ayuk for DJ Moore. And I think in a vacuum, I prefer Brandon Ayuk in Dynasty, but given that DJ Moore is healthy and playing, I prefer DJ Moore for my team.
Yeah, no, I think that's sound rationale. Like, obviously, from a pure value standpoint, you take Ayuk, but at the same time, it's like, you can't help me out if you have a torn knee.
Yeah, and I'm not done, I don't think, by the way, with this.
Yeah.
Because I have some Devi horses that I might sell one for more competitive assets because I had a chance to win this thing. So,
dude, I do too. Now, I can't bring myself to sell some of my Devi picks. So for the record, if you guys are curious, so I am probably going to be 15-9 or 16-10 after this week. You're going to be 20-4, I believe, right? I currently have. Wait a minute. I might end up this week 15-9 with the most points for in the league. That's awesome. And on top of that, in my Devi pool, listen to this. In my Devi pool,
I'll throw my Devies up versus yours.
Go ahead.
Shot. We'll see. No. We'll go shot for shot. Who's your best Devi player?
Best?
I know it's Genty. It's Genty, right?
I knew one of them. I had Jeremiah Smith as well. Yeah, it's Genty on this one.
Okay, so Genty's your. We'll decide who has the better Devi pool chat here. So Danny has Genty as his best Devi player, which I mean I might just lose just on that. I would say my best Devi player, depending on what you think of him. I think my 2 and 3 are better than your second. I think if you have Jeremiah Smith, right?
No, that's in the other one. I have Jeremiah Smith.
So I have Amari and Hampton is probably my best Debbie player.
Okay.
I would imagine.
Yeah. My second would probably be Nico Yamaleva because he's probably going to be the quarterback one next year.
And my second, maybe my first, depending on which position he plays in the NFL, is Travis Hunter.
Yeah. So you got Hunter and you got Amari.
Hampton.
My next two would probably be Nico Yamaleva and see, this is the weird discussion. Who would be my next one after that? Would it be Cam Coleman, who's absolutely thrashing as a true freshman right now? Would it be Trey Harris, who might be a top 40 NFL draft Harris? Or would it be Darius Taylor, who's potentially RB1 next year too?
I think it would be Trey Harris still.
I think he's
going to be like a first-round receiver. And I personally, the way I play Devi, I like to value the guys who are just about to be draft eligible more.
Yeah, and then I also have Nussmeier, who might be maybe not a first-round quarterback next year, but like he should go relatively high.
He continues to develop. He could be a first-round quarterback.
And then I have Jonah Coleman, who I think he's going to go back next year to school this year, is what I've been hearing.
So I have Hampton, Hunter, Ollie Gordon, who could be in our top 3 to 5 running back in this class if he comes out. I think still, even despite the down season, I still think he would be a top 5 running back in the class. And then I have Alec Iomanor, who might go back to school based on the fact that he's not really played super well, and Nick Anderson from Oklahoma, who coming into the season was the Yeah, Big 12 freshman of the
We
year
both
coming
liked
into
him.
the year. And I loved him. He was 6'4", like 215 pounds, and he has not played at all. He's been hurt all season.
Yeah, like I'm looking through it. There are some teams with some really good Devi pools. Like I know Flett's got a solid one. I would put ours above his, but he does have like Quinshon Judkins, Jordan James, Shadur Sanders, Colston Loveland, Evan Stewart. He's got a lot of good NFL like projections, so his team's good. I'm trying to look through.
Bindles has Luther Burden, Arch Manning, Damian Martinez, Jackson Dart,
DJ Lagway.
DJ Lagway. Yeah, he's got a pretty
Yeah.
good Devi pool as well.
Yeah, Sexy Pats has Carnell Tate, Ryan Williams as his main two, and he's also got, I don't know where RJ Harvey goes in the draft, but he's been having a phenomenal year, so we'll see where he gets drafted too. Like I'm looking through here.
Ron has Nick Singleton, Emeka Egbuka, and Dylan Raiola too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Caleb has.
I don't know if this is entertaining or not entertaining for people
sorry.
listening to us right now. We're not. I forgot we're even live, to be honest.
Dude, I probably should have shared my screen when we went into this, but I'll try to just like end it off.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, AJ,
Yeah.
Devi is so fun, man.
So much
I'm not
fun.
gonna lie. Like, I actually enjoy it more than regular Dynasty leagues. And
you know why?
I love the best ball aspect of it too. Having
You know
Devi
why?
best ball versus Dynasty startups is way more fun to me.
You know why? Because there's more players with value. I would say in Devi, because you do have the Devi pool. And again, what's more fun about Devi that I found is Dynasty, you can kind of play by an algorithm, right? Dynasty, you can kind of play like, oh yeah, this is my process. This is my valuation. I know exactly what these valued assets are going to be. Therefore, I can create a trade. In Devi, it's impossible to equate value to those Devi players because it all depends, exponential scale ups from some of these true freshmen. Like straight up, I took Jeremiah Smith, and you mentioned, you're like, oh, you're taking a true freshman. That's a big progression. Now you're looking at it a year later, and it's like, okay, Jeremiah Smith would be a top 10 NFL draft pick if he got drafted this year. So it's like there are players, but then on the flip side, it's like, well, you look at some of the other 5 stars in that class.
Carnell Tate or whatever. Like,
well, Tate's been good, but that's a bad example. But like, point is though, is there's like
John
players.
Cook.
Like, let me look. I mean, if you drafted CJ Baxter in the first round of your Devi draft, and he tears his ACL now. You know what I mean? There's players like
there's
that.
There's a lot of variance to it, and I think the strategy changes way more. Because like in Dynasty, it's like you're either a competitive or a rebuilder. But like some people, you could be a competitive or a rebuilder just like you would in a regular Dynasty, except in Devi, you also like are rebuilding around your Devi players too, which is like, and you can kind of time when you want to be competitive with what the draft classes that you have invested into as well. Like what I've done in both of the Devi leagues that we've been in is I've gone very heavy on the current draft class. Like,
I've actually like done the opposite.
When we did the startup in Devi Disciples, I went really heavy on Malik Neighbors. I drafted in the startup. I drafted Jatavian Sanders in the startup. I drafted Emeka Egbuka, who ended up going back to school, but he was projected to be in the 2024 class. I drafted Jackson Dart and Shadur Sanders as well in that startup. And then this year we did the Devi Degeneracy startup, and I drafted a bunch of players that I thought were going to be in the 2025 class, like Travis Hunter and Omarion Hampton and Ollie Gordon.
Sorry, I just keep getting excited looking at Cam Coleman putting up 7 for 128 and 2 tugs on a 15th ranked team in the country. That's a true freshman.
Not bad. But yeah, we will. So the weird thing, I don't know where you're at with this, Danny, because I'm in 17 leagues, 17
around there,
fantasy leagues right now. 13 of them are Dynasty leagues. So I'm in 13.
I'm letting you guys know right now, going forward, more than likely any leagues that we create probably going to be best balls. Like can we do any more lineups? Like,
no, I can't handle any more lineups unless we did like a super high stakes one where it was like, worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like a $50 Dynasty startup lineup league, like, I don't know if I got it in me unless I leave some leagues. But like the problem is you don't want to leave leagues that you're competitive in, but then you also don't want to leave rebuilds because you look like an idiot.
You look like
especially because like people in our leagues know that we create content, and you don't want to be that guy that like leaves the bad team for the shitty.
Manager. I'm in a couple like content creator leagues, and like I've heard names of other creators in the space that are like known for perennially just like leaving every league that they're in.
Yeah.
And like
it's tough.
You can figure who I'm talking about.
I know exactly. I could come up with 3 names right now, but I'm not going to say them on a live stream. But like, it sucks because like there's a couple teams that I have that are like, and actually most of my portfolio just across the board are house money teams right now. So it's like I don't want to leave them because they're house money teams. They're about to be really good. But like I also have 2 teams that are like kind of bad right now that I could leave, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to rebuild these teams because it's not a super big deal.
Well, I'll tell you right now. So one of the leagues that I had that actually folded, Flet knows he was actually in this league, but basically Did you know those leagues where like you try to do a league with your buddies and they just make your life fucking miserable from a management perspective, a
Oh, the
commission
worst.
perspective?
Yeah, you can't collect the money and shit.
That I had it on League Safe, and like I'm waiting on guys that like going into the year and shit, and
Oh, it's the
it was
worst.
bad. Or like every week I'm dealing with like a fucking tanking scandal where they have some of their best players on the fucking taxi squad, like like the whole 9 fucking yards, right? So then I'm like, okay, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, this league is not going to make it, but my team is in a terrible spot for the future, right? And I don't want to look like that guy. So going into the year, I made a trade to tank pretty much because I knew inherently, I'm like, you know what? If this league does go for forward moving forward, I don't want to look like that guy that just put all my chips in the middle for the last year. Pretty much.
If you're going to leave a rebuilding team, you should at least leave it with some draft capital. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I've seen orphans where it's like how like his best receiver is, KJ Hamler, and he has no first round picks for the next 3
I've
years.
seen that too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we've seen our fair share of horrific teams. A few come to mind.
Yeah. And some of them too, like some of the like content creator leagues that I'm in are also my oldest dynasty leagues. So like all the players on the roster are players that like I drafted, for example. So it's like part of me is like, I don't want to leave this league because I've been in it for so long.
Yeah. Like for example, I'm in the Mickey Mouse League right now, and again, actually it's guaranteed I'm going to be 8-4. Shout out Saquon Barkley, but like I'm 8-4, and this is a team that I have like I'm horrible at quarterback now because both Purdy and Dak are hurt, which sucks. But like the skill players on this team, like Devon Achane, CeeDee Lamb, fucking Malik Neighbors, like it's absurd. It's absurd. Drake London, like
I think the answer to this is that I'm not joining any more leagues that people ask me to join. I'm just going to do listener leagues only going forward, and they're going to be best ball, I think, as well. And
all best
like
ball.
Probably a maximum of 2 this offseason as well.
Yeah. No,
like if we did a Devi startup and a regular dynasty startup, one like let's say after the draft and one maybe in March or something, that's probably it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wait. Bro, I could leave I took an orphan because Danny's team is. I know why.
In the listener. See, that's one of the leagues. I would never leave. First of all, I would never leave a league with you guys. That would never happen. That would never cross my mind.
When we say that, we're more so talking about like other leagues. Like we're not like if we make a league with you guys, we're in it for the fucking long haul.
Yeah, like I'm in. Let me count just really quick how many leagues I'm in that are not leagues that you guys are in.
Probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah, so I'm in. Get Faded. Can't Wait, Comedy of Errors, Bitcoin League, and I guess technically Too Lazy is not a listener league, but I still kind of consider it one. But so I'm in 4 leagues that hypothetically I could leave because they're not listener leagues. Like they're leagues of most of the people are like BDG guys or some like Comedy of Errors is like, David Gautieri and like Tyler Perry or whatever his name is, Tyler PFF or whatever his name is.
Tyler Perry, House of Pain?
Yeah, maybe that's not his name. What is his name? Hold on. I think his name actually is Tyler Perry. I don't think I'm trolling here. Yeah, no, his name is Perry _FF. I think that's what his first name is Tyler, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry. That just got me off.
Dynasty IM is in that league, and Jacob Sanderson's in that league and stuff. So
I'm actually so mad because if I remember correctly, Todd's in that league too, right?
Yep.
He asked me to fucking be in that league. I didn't know you were in it, and there was like 1 spot left, and I'm like, you know what? There's too many leagues I'm in, and I think like right after I said no, like he asked you, and if the league filled right away. Were you the last guy that joined it?
I was fiending. He caught me at the best possible time, and he wasn't the one who asked me. David Gautieri asked me.
I'm so mad at myself because I'm like,
I love my team in this league though. Yeah. Like I have a rebuild, and when you have a rebuild and you just have like the perfect assets for a rebuild where they're like not scoring you points, but they're like still valuable. Like I have Michael Penix on this team. I have Trey Benson on this team. I have Bo Nix, Drake May, and Trevor Lawrence on this team as my other quarterbacks. Like it's just one of those Marvin Harrison on this team. They're just like not producing elite production. So you're still tanking, and I'm on pace to have Genty on this team. But like I have a good shell of a good, team going forward.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. That you're cooking there.
But anyways, let's
I'll say one more thing. So we mentioned the Debbie Degeneracy League, and you mentioned some of your names. For example, we're in 2 Debbie leagues. If you guys are unfamiliar, the one is the best ball, the one is the managed lineup league that we started 2 years ago, right? So we talked about the Debbie Degeneracy leagues, and here, I'll just do this so you guys can.
We can actually see this one, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, I also have these sheets here, which luckily is nice. I could have done this on the Debbie Degeneracy, but here, let me close that. But basically, I kind of just doxed myself pretty much. But basically, so we'll go through yours quickly too. Like Buka, Shadur, Jackson Dart, KJ, Eli.
KJ's kind of dead, but other than KJ, I feel good about those.
Yeah, you're cooking there for sure. And then, I mean, I just have a bunch of fucking names like dart throws all across the board. Devin Neal, like profile.
He'll be like a 4th round pick to the Texans or something.
He'll have like a Khalil Herbert run where like, oh yeah, maybe can be an RB1. Maybe he's like this year's Bucky Irving, like something like that.
Yeah, Devin Neal being this year's Bucky Irving is a pretty apt comparison, actually.
Donovan Edwards probably dead. I'm not gonna lie, he just does not look good. Singer probably dead. But then I have Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Jordan James, Jonah Coleman, Abu Sama's probably dead. Sellers looks like the one guy that's gained a ton of value as of late. Have you seen what he's been putting up?
I didn't actually know he was good.
Dude, so here, let me see. So because South Carolina right now, I'm pretty sure is like a top 16 overall ranked team. Like they're 8-3. He has 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and he can run the football too if I can find his rushing yards. He has 489 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 17 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions as a first-year starter.
Not bad. How is Raheem Sanders playing well still?
I heard he was last time I was looking into it.
When we were doing the 2025 prospect kind of discussion, he was playing well at one point.
Raheem Sanders.
So I don't know what the hell to do with that guy, because I have a feeling he has a chance to be like a late process riser because he's a senior this year, so he'll go to the Senior Bowl.
Is he this year's Braylon Allen?
No, because Allen was a like 20-year-old, raw player. Like he kind of.
I'm more so just like the size, the speed,
maybe.
Yeah, that's honestly, I was
more
just
athletic than Brian Robinson though too.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I was just thinking of like big running backs that have some wiggle. Like, I
don't know. He's interesting, man, because he was obviously, we all thought he was going to end up being like the 102 in that rookie class in 2024, right? We coming into last college football season, we were like, oh, Raheem Sanders is like the RB1 in the class. He's the crown jewel of the class. And then literally like all of the best running backs from 2024, other than Trey Benson, went back to school.
Yeah, no.
It's like, oh yeah, Henderson back to school, Sanders back to school, Donovan Edwards back to school, like everybody, and then like Will Shipley types just had like shit seasons. So, yeah, that's weird. Like I think Raheem Sanders is actually having a half decent year, which would be an interesting wrinkle. Let me take a look really quick where he's actually ranked.
Also, can I get my my, I don't want to say told you so much, but like the guy that I fucking stuck my neck out for in the offseason that's been dominant this year, and I talked about it with you on the prospect profile video that we did over on Flock. But dude, Ricky White this year, 70 catches, 965 yards, and 10 receiving touchdowns already.
Yeah, he's been good.
Like, I don't think anybody talked about him coming into the year.
Yeah, we have him listed as Michigan State there. He's at UNLV, right?
Yeah, because he his first year he played was at Michigan State. I actually told you the story, but so he was a true freshman in 2020 at Michigan State. And when you look at his game logs, I believe he suited up in like 3 games that year because it was the COVID year. He put up an 8 for 196 and 1 line against Michigan that year as a true freshman. Yeah,
you've mentioned this to me before. Yeah, but I pulled it up. We'll stop talking about this in a second because I just thought this was weird. But 165 attempts, 821 and 11 touchdowns for Raheem Sanders, an 83.0 PFF rushing grade. He also has 26 targets for 268, 1.4 yards per route run. His elusiveness rating is 117.5. So he is having a good year, which is something he really needed because he was going to end up being like a remember Raheem Sanders type of guy. If he didn't have a good year, he's the type of dude that could go to the Senior Bowl, have a good week, test out he's going to test really, really well too. So he was literally a track athlete coming out of high school. Like he's going to run like a 4.39 at 233 pounds or something like that. And then everybody's gonna be like, holy shit, Raheem Sanders is back to being a top 5 running back in this class. Like that wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't shock me either. Now, I don't think he can get to like the top 5 because of how strong this running back class profiles.
Why can't he though? Like just based on hype and stuff.
Hype, sure, but like, okay.
I don't think his tape is top 5. I'm just saying.
Let's just talk about the names that will for sure go above him. Quinshon Judkins, Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton.
I think
Trevion
that's where the
Henderson.
list ends. I think he could end up being 4 by the end of the process.
I can't see that.
If he's 235 and he
if
runs
anybody takes him over
429,
Omarion Hampton, they are blind.
I'm not saying. Did you mention Hampton just now? Yeah. So I'm saying
Hampton, Judkins, Henderson,
after
Genty.
those guys.
Okay,
so
those
after
are
those 4. After those 4.
There's Caleb Johnson, 100% going to
go maybe. Him. Yeah, for sure. But like Sanders has a larger resume than Caleb Johnson did.
Sure. I don't know.
Everybody knows his junior
Nick Singleton,
year was a wash.
Nick Singleton as well.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying he can't. Like he's automatically better than these players. I'm just saying if he runs like a 4.39 at 235 and has a good Senior Bowl and a good draft process.
You think he runs a 4.39?
Dude, he ran a 4.40 coming out of high school.
Yeah, but he added weight.
But he was 245. Like I don't think he's gonna run that big. He's gonna probably slim down to run.
Fair. I don't know.
He's a beast, man. He had like his sophomore tape was sick. Like
no, I know really he was projected to be the RB1 in this past class.
Of this running back class.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Like again,
I wouldn't be shocked if by the time we get to April, we're like, yeah, Raheem Sanders is gonna go in the second round. Like it wouldn't shock me if that's what we're ready to say.
I can't get there. There's just so many good running backs in this class.
How many running backs are 230 plus who run in the 4.3s and catch like 25 passes a season in college?
I mean, like that's literally the Braylon Allen debate last year.
Braylon Allen didn't catch 25 passes a season, and he wasn't as fast as Sanders.
I get that, but I'm talking about in terms of like how we're talking about him. Because last year you could have just said, "Well, just take the big young running back."
Well, first of all, Sanders' sophomore tape was better than anything Braylon Allen put on.
I don't disagree for the record.
Second of all, size, and he had size, not speed, power, contact balance, and receiving ability like Sanders.
Teams thought he had power. Teams thought he did. Again, we both agree that we were lower on him comparatively, but the team said like, oh, he's this big, powerful, Big Ten running back, Wisconsin based, fed the right stuff in that weight room. You know what I mean?
I don't even think he's from Wisconsin. I don't know where he's from.
He went to Wisconsin. You know what I mean, though? It's like they got him in that Wisconsin training room. They got him squatting 5 bills. He's eating like a purebred horse.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I just obviously we know the running back class is going to be really good. It's just Sanders is a guy that I just can't seem to quit. Yeah. You don't see guys who are 240 who run like that and can catch the ball. Like it's just really rare.
But like he
looks like at the very least, I think he's Ramondre Stevenson, if not a way faster version.
I think Ramondre is a good comp, but like I'm looking
ran in the 4.6s. That's the difference.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying stylistically.
Stylistically they play similar, but I think he's way faster.
Fair, but like I'm looking through, dude. Even if you have a running back, just take a running back in this class. Genty, Hampton, Johnson, Judkins, Henderson, Sampson. DJ Giddens has had a great year this year too. Everything I've been hearing. Ollie Gordon, like we said, not the greatest year, but we know
there's going to be a handful of these guys go back to school too. Gordon, Trevor Etienne, some of these dudes might go back to school.
Jonah Coleman's going back too. If Jonah Coleman was coming out, he'd be very high for me. He's a guy last 2 years, 91.4 PFF grade 87, like you said, with Damian Martinez. Trevor Etienne hasn't had the greatest year, but
he's going to go back.
Yeah, but at the same time, like he's when he's been on the field, he's looked good. So I think he'll go back as well. Devin Neal, you said Jordan James as well. Like, is Jordan James coming out? Because if Jordan James comes out, he
might be a guy that goes back too. But I could see him coming out as well. Okay. Anyways, we're getting off the rails here. I just want to quickly shout out the top 5 waivers. We'll obviously have you covered tomorrow. We'll have you covered for TikTok and for YouTube. Also, PWalk says how's tight ends coming in. It's
very good.
Good.
Very good.
Like Warren is going to be a first rounder probably. I'd imagine Fannin and Loveland are going to be early second rounders if I had to guess. I don't think Loveland's going to go in the first round personally.
See, he should, but
I don't think he will. I think Warren is the one that might go in the first round.
It depends on the team fit because I think the Colts would take a guy like Tyler Warren, whereas a team like the Chargers would take a guy like Colson Loveland.
Yeah. By the way, Tyler Warren, Penn State tight end, Colston Loveland, Michigan tight end, Harold Fannin Jr., Bowling Green tight end, just to give you guys the schools and the actual names of these players so you know who we're talking about.
It's fun. The way that I would like stylistically generalize these guys, obviously it is going to be a bit different, but like if you guys were like, don't know anything about these guys, think of like Sam Laporta is like your Tyler Warren. Fannin would be like your Kyle Pitts, like your seam vertical tight end. And then Colson Loveland, like I'm trying to think like
Kincaid.
Yes, Kincaid's a good one. I was going to think like Kincaid, like Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson reminds me of that. Like basically like the guys that kind of move a little bit like Kelsey, but aren't Travis Kelsey is kind of how I profile.
No Bowers, by the way.
No,
P-Walk.
Bowers is a different breed.
We might be doing this channel for 10 more years and we might never see Bowers again.
We might be doing this channel for the next 50 years of our life and never see another Bowers.
Yeah, and I'm a little mad at myself for not being higher on Bowers, like ranking him.
We knew he'd be a first ballot type of talent. We just said it's the tight end position.
I wish I just said screw it. I'm not taking Odunze over Bowers. I'm not taking McCarthy over Bowers.
It does feel like a little hindsight bias though, too, a little bit.
It really shouldn't have been though, to be honest. Given
Bowers'
prospect profile,
I get it, but we saw how the overall market treated tight ends. We saw that if you have a great rookie wide receiver season, which was absolutely in the range of outcomes for Odunze, he could have been a top 8 overall startup pick. Like look at Neighbors and look at what Mark could have been.
B-Tom and like whatever, but I would still take Bowers over B-Tom right now.
Yeah, but you wouldn't take him over Neighbors. Like I think Odunze having a Neighbors like rookie season was in the range of outcomes. And then I mean we're seeing
Neighbors was equally as good of a wide receiver prospect as Bowers was a tight end prospect, though. Realistically,
no, I agree. And then we go to the quarterback position. It's like, well, sure, McCarthy was not the caliber of prospect, I would say, at least for me, like from an NFL perspective. But when you also combine the fantasy perspective, you had Daniels in there, Caleb, May, and Daniels.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like if he went out there and he was doing what Sam Darnold is right now, like Bowers would be going at the early second and JJ would be going in the mid to late.
Yeah.
So like I don't think it was bad process. It's just like, dude, like Bowers.
It was just a loaded class realistically, but I still think the bet was probably better for Bowers than it was for Odunze and McCarthy. Those two specifically, I think, are the ones that I regret. Like I still would have taken Drake May and Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors over Brock Bowers. I think that was the correct take at the time. Yeah. I just think McCarthy and Odunze might have been pushing it a little bit.
Thankfully, we weren't the guys taking the running backs in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, Brooks and Benson definitely haven't really gained much value and probably have lost value.
Also, dude, hey, give ourselves a pat on the back for the Knicks call because we were taking.
We were all over Bo Nix, so I feel good about that. Anyways, early top 5 waivers. Again, there's going to be some guys that are actually available that can help people this week. We have Dontavian Wicks, 20% rostered right now. Romeo Doubs probably going to miss Thursday's game against the Dolphins Thanksgiving night. So definitely a guy that is a good option for people who need a spot start at wide receiver. Amir Abdullah was a big waiver addition last week, but not a lot of people actually picked him up because he's Amir Abdullah. So 33% of the leagues he's only rostered in, and he actually played pretty much every snap for the Raiders. We don't know how long Madison and Zamir White are going to be out for, so that remains to be seen. But he's definitely still a viable option. Adonai Mitchell, Josh Downs got banged up in this game. I'm not exactly sure how AD Mitchell, because I think we would all agree that AD Mitchell is more of an outside receiver. So does the slot receiver getting injured help him the way that Pittman being out helped him, or the way that Alec Pierce's potential injury would help him? I think that it's possible that AD Mitchell is still the number 3 in terms of like usage, but we'll have to wait and see how that works. I would actually like to see AD Mitchell in the slot, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk about that too, because if I'm not mistaken, I mean, we could just pull up here. Let me pull this up real quick. In the 2 games that Josh Downs missed in the first 2 of the season, he had 5 targets, 4 targets, 64% of the snaps, 59% of the snaps in his first 2 NFL games of his career. So if Downs is out, like, I mean, we also saw in week 10, like you said, when Pittman was out, the 94% snap share.
Yeah, Pittman's the guy that is more important, and actually Pierce too. Like if either of Pittman or Pierce miss time, I feel like it helps Mitchell more than it helps Downs. But I think regardless, the top 3 receivers in terms of like snap share, rotation, and route participation will be Pittman, Pierce, and Mitchell. It's just a matter of how much does Mitchell get, knowing that Downs was the one who got injured.
Let's simplify it.
Pittman also got banged up too, so it's possible he's dealing with something.
Can the Colts just play the broken-bodied version of Michael Pittman in the slot with Downs out instead of AD Mitchell then? Like,
yeah, they could.
They do that?
Also, can we just like not keep Mitchell on the bench? Like, how about we just don't play Pierce more than 35% of the snaps?
Well, I will say the reason why I think Pierce plays so much is that he does have, I mean, like Mitchell also has deep speed, but like that's not really his role as just being a clear out guy. He's like the MVS of this offense, but like a better player than MVS is kind of how I describe it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what he is. It's funny that Chasing Breakers actually brings this up because my number 4 waiver ad as of right now is Devon Vele. He had 9 targets this week. I actually took him to go over 40 receiving yards in one of my bets. Stupidest bet I've ever made in my life, but he ended up doing it. So
I told you to make that bet.
I did make it.
Let's go.
It was just a single, like, no parlay action. It was just $10 on Melee to go over 40 receiving yards, and he did it. So
tell me this. I can't hit a fucking pick to save my life, but the 3 random bets that I threw you on the stream were Devon Vele over on his yards, were Jalen Waddle over 100+ receiving yards, and there was Nick Westbrook-Akine touchdown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was the one who was on Waddle more so, but you just said, because if you're going to say Waddle,
you may as well ladder it up.
You might as well go to 100 is what you said. But yeah, that's definitely fair. And then Nick Westbrook-Akine, I texted you as soon as he scored that touchdown. I'm like, I fucking hate Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Meanwhile, I can't hit a fucking pick 'em slick to save my life.
Yeah. Not only can you not hit one of the guys you picked had negative rushing yards.
Against the Raiders, having negative rushing yards should get you fucking banished.
Jail. That's absolute jail for Javonte. Javonte Williams is the most bipolar experiment I've ever seen in my life. Can the Broncos draft a running back in the first round so we know who the hell they're going to start every week?
Well, if the Broncos weren't so fucking good at football right now, they would have been a Genty spot, but he's not going to make it to their pick. So do they take a Judkins? Do they take a hand? Dude, if they drafted Hampton
in Denver, man, that would be sick.
He's just the Javonte experiment redux.
Oh, North Carolina running back. Yeah.
And like,
he's way better than Javonte.
As a prospect though, like, I think
Javonte was a good prospect, but athletically, he's gonna blow Javonte out of the water.
I agree. Yeah, it just meant like elusiveness, tackle breaking, receiving profile coming out. Like, it's sad that Javonte lost any of the juice he had coming into the NFL after,
because he didn't have that much coming in.
No, now, dude, does he crack a 4.77 at this point?
I don't know. If Josh Jacobs had torn his ACL at some point in his career, the exact same thing would have happened. Because he's right on the teetering border of not that athletic. So if he had lost any of that explosiveness, then the same thing would have happened to Josh Jacobs. But thankfully, Jacobs was able to stay healthy his whole career. So that's kind of where Javonte's career would have gone, I think, had he stayed healthy, he would have been Jacobs again.
This is going to sound hilarious after the offseason, by the way, because you mentioned the name Josh Jacobs, so I have to bring this up. Don't get me wrong. Through the first 11 games of the year, obviously you are taking Derrick Henry. But how hilarious would it be if fucking Josh Jacobs ended up finishing higher than Derrick Henry based off both of their respective rest of season schedules?
It would be funny knowing that you said that Derrick Henry was a bad pick and Jacobs was a great pick.
Dude, well, so Jacobs has 182 PPR points in 11 games. Henry has 226.1. So obviously, like, Henry's outproducing him, don't get me wrong. But then when you also contextualize that Derrick Henry has that week 14 bye, Jacobs, I believe, they already had their bye week. Did Henry miss a game? No, he plays tonight. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, he plays tonight, you dummy.
But like, he still has his bye week still. Like, if he has a bad game tonight, maybe he has like a 7-point stinker. Then it's like a 47.
I actually would love that, because I'm up 14 points or 15 points in a half PPR league, and I play Derrick Henry, and I am hoping he has less than 14.5. I think is what I'm up by right now.
Yeah, like so I mentioned the Debbie Degeneracy spot. I'm 18 behind, and I think I have Zay Flowers and one other piece tonight. I'm trying to think who the other one would have been. I forget, probably like a QJ or some bullshit. Whereas in my home league, I need to fade 16 Zay plus Justice Hill points. So there is the very unfortunate scenario where they score just enough where I lose in both leagues. So hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah. Also, the last guy that I wanted to mention as a quick shout for waivers is Jeremy McNichols. As we hear the severity of Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler's injuries come out, he might be a viable pickup as well. So you won't have to make that decision probably until Tuesday night. Hopefully we have more information on B-Rob's injury and Eckler's concussion and whatnot. Also, on Estime getting the Broncos starting running back job, to be honest, when you're a 5th round rookie, you got to win at your rookie season. Otherwise, you're probably not getting it. Estime, unfortunately, came into the year with like a knee scope and, never really got his footing. He's still got a couple games to maybe prove himself as a potential starter for the Broncos going forward. But the tide needed to turn that week that Estime had the big game where he got all the carries. If he had just foot on the gas from that point forward, he might have had a chance to be the starting running back for the Broncos. It's just, if you can't beat out Javonte Williams in this state right now, like you probably don't deserve to be a starting running back in the NFL. Like they're probably going to look at their backfield as like, we have a couple guys. Javonte's a free agent after this year. Estime's fine, but he's more of a running back 2 than he is a running back 1. That's how they're probably going to look at him.
I mean, the best way to describe it is like, hopefully for our sake, they opt to replace the Jolo McLaughlin, knowing that last year that their plan was to replace the Javante with Audric Estime. Like that would be your hope, is like if they do add a running back, because they're gonna add a running back. Yeah. Your hope is like they don't add a Quinshon Judkins. They more so add, okay, Dylan Sampson in the 4th round.
Yeah, they're gonna draft somebody high, I think.
Too.
You're gonna look at that. What would you do if you were the Broncos GM right now? You just had a rookie quarterback, have a great rookie season.
Good offensive line too this year.
Go get him weapons, right? You don't need a huge piece of upgrades on the offensive line. Your job is going to be receivers, tight ends, and running backs. So that's what they're going to go and do probably in the draft.
Yeah, and what were the Saints known for when Peyton was there? Like they had a new running back every fucking year. They had Pierre Thomas one year, Reggie Bush one year, Mark Ingram the next year, Alvin Kamara comes in, fucking Adrian Peterson got a couple starts there. Like other than when Alvin Kamara got drafted and proved he was a Hall of Fame talent. When did we ever see loyalty from Sean Payton with his running backs?
Yeah. Like you're going to see the Broncos go into the draft this year and they're going to spend their first 3 picks on offensive players, in my opinion.
Agreed.
They're going to go into the draft. They're going to draft a
tight end, running back, and a lineman.
Yeah. They're going to draft Emeka Egbuka in the mid-1st round. They're going to draft Amarian Hampton in the mid-2nd round. And then they're going to draft Harold Fannin in the 3rd round or something like that. They're going to just draft a bunch of pieces.
They are a shoo-in, I think, from a fit standpoint for a Warren or a Loveland, because the reason why Greg Dulcich has been pushed to the side is that they don't like him blocking up front, apparently. Like, has that been the issue? He's been injured, and anytime he's been playing, he's been a bad blocker.
Yeah. He has been a very bad blocker.
So, would a Sean Payton take a Fannin type, or would he more so lean on, like, your Big Ten, do-it-all tight ends like a Warren and a Loveland? That's kind of where I think, right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to imagine the Broncos not having the realization that they just need to add players to the offense, because the defense is good enough to win games, and you have a young quarterback who's shown a lot of promise. So keep Sutton in house. If you like Sutton, you have Troy Franklin who you can develop. You have Devon Vele who you can develop. Go get Emeka Egbuka would be perfect for this offense.
Yes. I'm glad. You know what? I've seen
Luther
enough
Burden would also be really fun for this offense too.
Burden would be great. You mentioned I've seen enough from Vele where like he should have a significant role in this team next year. Like I don't know if it's like as a wide receiver 3 or as a wide receiver 4, but like every time he's got an opportunity, he's looked fucking good, and he's got size. Like he's a Sean Payton type of receiver, man.
It is, yeah. I think if you had Sutton as your, let's say your number 2 or your pseudo number 1 until your rookie develops into your number 1, and then Vele and Franklin are battling for number 3. Then I think that would be the perfect situation, because then you'd have a couple good receivers. It's like what the Bucs have with McMillan and Trey Palmer coming into the season. They were battling for number 3. I think that's kind of what you'd want to have with Vele and with Franklin, because Franklin's super young, right? So Vele's like 3.5 years older than Franklin. So you got a guy who's like way younger, who's still learning the NFL. I still have hope for Franklin that he can turn into something. But they're probably going to add a receiver in the draft, if I had to guess, at some point. And it should probably be a 1st-round receiver, in my opinion.
Yeah, like Vele is 26 years old, for the record.
Yeah.
He's 26.
Yeah, Troy Franklin is barely 21. So I actually undersold how old he was.
Yeah.
His age difference between the two guys.
That's pretty insane. I did want to give Vele his flowers, though, because people kind of like have treated him like
unfortunately, he's already a sell in Dynasty. He's past his age window.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you're a rebuilder, sell all of your Devon Vele before contending teams realize he's ancient. I can't speak English. Sorry.
My guy's literally older than like Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and T. Higgins, who've been in the league for like 4 years.
Bro's older than fucking CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, literally. He actually is.
He is. That's crazy.
That's crazy, man. Anyways, we're just babbling at this point in the stream. If you got some value somehow out of this, leave a like down below, subscribe. We kind of just went off the cut. We're at a point in the season where we're like, fantasy takeaways, like how many do we really have?
Real quick though, you didn't mention Wicks. Wicks would be the number 1 with the reports that Romeo Doubs concussion. And as we know too, again, we know if Doubs is out, which is a short week, he will more than likely be out.
He can't clear the protocol. It's impossible.
Right. He's going to be one of the top 3 receivers. And as we've seen when he's been on the field, he's been the highest TPRR guy on that team, targets per route run guy on that team. Also, I mean, Watson's had some hamstring lingerings. Like, if he were to go down in this game, like, are we ignoring the implied upside that Wicks just has a 30-point Thanksgiving game?
Of course, I
It'd be
had to drop Wicks in our listener league this week because I had to put Evans in my lineup. So I had to, and my whole bench was on bye. I had James Cook, Breece Hall, Darnell Mooney. All those guys were on bye this week. So I literally had to drop Wicks.
Wicks is about to have a generational better and best ball year.
Yeah, no, literally. A.D. Mitchell is also the new Dontavian Wicks, the only wide receiver handcuffs in the NFL. But anyways, like I said, it'll be a different schedule this week because of American Thanksgiving. Also, shout out to you Americans who are like probably 95% of people listening right now. Tomorrow we'll have waivers. Wednesday, I'm going to do matchups that matter a day early because we have 3 games on Thursday, 1 game on Friday. On Thursday, before the noon kickoff, I believe, noon Eastern is when the first game kicks off for Thursday. We'll do a live stream, I don't know, 11 Eastern, give or take. And then we'll also have, tons of underdog picks for the Thanksgiving games, for the Black Friday game on Shorts, as well as on TikTok. And then on Friday, we'll probably do a Dynasty Decisions video. There is a game on Friday, but we won't be live for that. And then Saturday, we'll do our tier list as normal, but they'll be kind of abbreviated because a bunch of players will have played already. And then Sunday morning, I will not be present for the live stream, like I said, because I'm actually moving, getting a little bit of an upgrade as far as space is concerned. So that should be a lot of fun for you, boy. But get used to this background because I'm only going to have it for the rest of this weweek. It is going to be a little, I'm still going to move everything that I have, but it's going to be a little bit different in the new house.
Sorry, I have to show you. So I guess we're signing off, but I have to point this out because this hit home personally in the Flock League this week. But why is Tua fucking quote tweeting this? Like, why? Sorry, I have to just show you. Why is he quote tweeting this? My exact thoughts.
LOL.
2013 meme tweeted and fucking Tyreek Hill just randomly quote tweets it.
That's so funny.
Let's get him some more targets, though. I do agree with Tyreek. Let's get him some more on Thursday.
That's really funny. I'm not going to lie. Anyways, appreciate you guys for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. My picks for tonight are live on the TikTok. I think Danny's going to have his up in a few hours or whatever. So if you guys want to tail those, obviously you know what to do. But peace out. We'll talk to you soon.